All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first ever podcast episode. This is a place for our wonderful DM to take a break from telling an awesome story and the chaos that follows. And lets us have a moment to talk amongst ourselves and let you all learn a little bit about us and our characters. We have a few interesting topics to go over today, so without further ado, let us gather around the table with our drinks and our snacks and enjoy a moment around Ganta's table. So, first and foremost, my name is Chad. I play Ganta Dormont, the chef monk in the campaign that our wonderful DM
Harlequin,
tells
hi.
the story for.
So Chad
please,
coming in
go
with
on
that
and introduce
ASMR voice there. Where did that come from?
Jeff, we're
Chad
Jeff Mark,
after
baby.
dark. Yep.
Oh,
So please,
Remus
we
is
wanted
gonna
to
love
meet
that about as much as the purring. Sorry, okay. Yeah, let's
Take it away.
I'm Harlequin Harley. I usually DM. This is my first campaign as a DM, so that has been a lot of fun.
Very nice.
I'm Enigma. I play Hero Oakenflame, the sorcerer bard Bear Genasi. Yeah.
I'm Ventura. I play Azul Sky, a very influenced individual. Herringon.
Hey, I'm Spencer. Might know me as the Shaggy Sabersmith, and in this campaign, which is actually my first campaign, I am playing Norvian Shagglethorn, the High Elf.
Very cool, everybody. First and foremost, Spencer's freaking jacked. But anyways,
Damn.
sleeper bill for days, brother.
This will also
Good.
go out on YouTube. So for our audio listeners, Spencer flexed, and it's more than you would expect. It's for video
boy.
viewers. If you want to see
Oh.
it, go to YouTube.
Look at them boulders. Look at them boulders.
Yeah, you can't tell when the sleeves I look like.
Because what was it? You wore t-shirt, and then you wore the long sleeve chainmail style thing, and then you had just a tank top. And Chad spent like 5
Yeah,
minutes
I think
trying
it
to
did
believe
hurt.
what he was seeing.
Oh, 100%. The first time I saw your TikTok, I was like, oh, man. Whoa, whoa.
Thank you.
It's like that Simpsons memes, like, I like men now. That was me.
5 minutes watching and then another 5 minutes watching again.
I probably got like 80 views just for me.
Yeah, the first bit was you were Marge. I just think they're neat.
So,
Oh, back on
first
topic.
discussion. Yeah, back on topic, because if you guys are tuning in for the very first time, we actually, some of us go a long way. We've known each other for a few years. Some of us have just met for the very first time. But we have a natural camaraderie. We have natural friendship, and we screw around with each other constantly, which makes for an amazing campaign, amazing storytelling, amazing roleplay. So I'm
Translation.
personally
We all have ADHD and very little impulse control.
100%. I'm personally blessed because these guys are awesome. And I'm not trying to. We'll get back into Ganta at some point, but I'm blessed. I love these guys very much. So we're gonna start the episode off with how did everybody get into Dungeons and Dragons? And for that, we're gonna go to Enigma. How
All
did
right.
you get into Dungeons and Dragons, my friend?
I have an odd story that goes through the a dark passage for most D&D players. I used to be a huge Magic the Gathering player. I competed in a bunch of tournaments at local game shops where I grew up. And one day, Adventurers League was happening at the same time as one of the tournaments. And for a lot of D&D players, Adventurers League is considered a super no-go. But I just saw it and I was like, oh man, that seems interesting. I was actually a LARPer at the time, so live action role playing. And I was like, oh man, this seems like what I do on my weekends. Like I play cards and I go LARP. Like, let me go check this out. And I ended up playing Adventurers League for a while. that was my introduction. Was just here's a pre-generated character, here's some dice that you can borrow, and off you go, and just jump right in. I guess was a very different thing to go from Adventurers League to home table. So play an odd start compared to most.
Do you remember what that character was?
Oh, I think I was given just the straight up was like, I like bows and arrows, like that's my vibe. And they were like, okay, here's a fighter with bows and arrows. Like that, like whenever everyone's just like, oh, I want to be a ranger, and I did the same thing. I was like, ranger seems cool, I want to use bows and arrows, and they were like, no, here's a fighter.
Yeah, Rangers get shit on so hard. It's not the Rangers class's fault. It's WotC, but it's okay.
Dude, this was 3E,
Yeah.
or 3.5. So this was, I mean, because I was in a school at the time, and so this was 3.5, where Rangers were limp. If you weren't playing them tanky, they basically limped their way out of every fight with like 1 HP.
Oh, so wizards.
0 damage done.
Yeah.
No, 0 damage done too.
Oh, okay.
Like, Rangers did no damage, and if you didn't build them tanky with like heavy armor proficiencies and survivalism, they were dying in like 2 shots. It was awful. So, yeah, that was my introduction, and then I just proceeded to go from there to finding home games and like friends I made at Adventurers League. We got together. I got my Magic the Gathering buddies together, and we started playing home games from there.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, who's next?
Tura.
Go, buddy, go.
You got
The first time I've ever played D&D.
Yeah.
Let me go back in time
Oh, boy.
to the first one I played.
Yeah.
Was a Final Fantasy XIV themed D&D campaign where I played a Dark Knight to tank. Character name? No idea. It was a while back in. It only made it maybe 5 sessions in.
Was that at my place?
But it was with Chad from work.
Yeah.
And I rubbed dirt, bringing him back to life.
For those
He
who
went
are
down in one of our first battles.
Yep, for context, we were fighting some enchanted vines and some weird wolf.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I was playing the Samurai Gunbreaker because it was a homebrew class.
Mhm.
And I was like, cool, I'm just gonna go beat the snot out of this thing. I got the snot beat out of me instead. And we finished we're in the middle of combat, and Ventura is like, it's my turn. Can I heal? Do you have potions? Do you have a healer's kit? No, but I got some dirt.
Oh no.
Rolled a nat 20 on a medicine check. So
I am going to need a
dirt.
no, but I've got some dirt moment in Witchlight. That is absolutely the bullshit I expect from you guys.
No,
That's
but I've got
bad.
some drugs.
Our DM was like, sure, we'll see what happens. So he rolls medicine, it's a nat 20, and he's like, all right, Chad, you have dirt and a gaping wound. You have 1 health.
It was enough. We did end up beating those wolves, or that wolf. I think it was just one.
I think it was
He was
one
in
big wolf
control.
and the
Yeah,
vines.
it's control of vines on the edge. That was
great.
my introduction.
Yeah, but I think we only did like 3 sessions.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Yeah.
Doesn't that always happen with like your first campaign you ever play? It just falls
Yeah.
apart so quick.
Yeah, it's either hit or
It's just-
miss.
Yeah.
Spencer, you've probably played more sessions in this campaign than most first-time players get in their first campaign.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But
You've already beat me and Ventura by 4.
Oh yeah, no, you've beaten me by like 5 or 6. Like, we played a one shot for my first session. But before we get into me,
Okay.
I want to brag on Spencer for a bit. So Spencer, tell them how things happen from your point of view, because I'm the one that dragged you into D&D.
Yeah. So I met Harley at Tampa Bay Comic Convention, where she was the director and coordinator of the cosplay contest that I was a guest judge at, and that was an awesome experience. But well, we kept in touch after that because she's really cool. Everyone here is really cool. But she wanted some kind of input on some cool little non-typical weapons for some D&D stuff because I have a martial arts background and making different prop weapons and different things like that. So I kind of helped out a little bit with that, which is a lot of fun. And then it's like, well, do you want to actually play D&D? I'm like, well, I know nothing about it because this is my first time actually playing D&D. So my backstory goes back like a few weeks on this, really. But it's been a great experience so far, and I couldn't have asked for a better group of people. You know, it's I still have a lot to learn, but I've never felt uncomfortable or anything, and it's just a really welcoming environment and really a lot of fun. So if anyone has hang-ups about starting, I would say just give it a shot. You know, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Oh, give it some time. I'll make you uncomfortable. I'll figure out a way.
We're not there yet.
I mean, to be
We're not saying
fair,
that.
we did get to the swan fucking in like Spencer's second ever session. So we something that this group will also be releasing is our own TTRPG. I've been working on it for about 2 years, but I've got to rework a lot of it, and most of these guys are helping me rework that entire mess of statistics. But I don't want all of the weapons to just be like the standard RPG stuff that you see. So I did message Spencer and I'm like, hey, like what's some cool niche stuff? And I expected like a couple items that I could kind of research, just like, oh, hey, this is cool, this is cool. No. This man gives me an itemized list of everything that he would pick for each different race and why. And I'm like, holy fuck, this is amazing. Have you ever played TTRPGs? And he's like, no, I've got no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, that's gonna fucking change right now. And now we're here.
Yeah, with that being said, how about you, Harley?
I was jokingly but literally kidnapped by some friends of mine from a park. I was hanging out with my sisters. They kind of just picked me up and put me in my friend Mika's car. And I'm like, the fuck is going on? And they, well, you've never played D&D, so now you're going to play D&D. I had no idea what I was doing the whole time, but I was also the only one good at solving puzzles as a human being in that campaign, not as a player, or not as a player, not as a character. I was the only one with the intelligence to solve the puzzles. But I was a halfling rogue with a kukri. I do not remember what her name was. I only played one session in that campaign, but it was a lot of fun. Then when I really, really got into it, I played a Savage Worlds campaign, and we got TPK'd by a group of orcs.
Very nice. So kind of piggybacking off of Ventura over here, we actually started our very first session was together with some other friends of ours. Our DM was like, hey, I want to do a thing. Your guys are going to play. And we're like, cool, full send it. So we did it, and it just dawned on me. We got the entire table was isekai'd into a fantasy world. So that's why Chad is playing this character, not Chad playing Chad's not playing Ganta, for example. It's Chad playing Chad as this race and this class.
Yeah,
that's what it was. So Ventura was playing Ventura as a dark knight, and Chad was playing Chad as a gunbreaker.
Yep.
I guess to kind of differentiate a little bit of the story aspect, my first time being a DM was because of Ventura. Because that one couple sessions that we did, I haven't touched D&D maybe a year or two in between. It was just like a quick little, hey, we're just gonna hang out and have some fun. It was when me and Ventura were in Germany, and I was coming back from the gym, and Ventura's hanging out with some friends outside by the smoke pit, and literally it was, hey Chad, you know how to play D&D, right? Kinda. You can tell stories, right? Sure. All right, cool. You're gonna be a DM for us. Go upstairs and make a story.
Yep.
I knew nothing about like the lore, the pantheon, the spells, the mechanics. I spent the next like 4 hours just speed reading everything that I possibly could, and even then I still didn't know everything. I created a story like on the spot, like that day, and I wrote out an entire book of a story, only to realize that the very first session, the entire story is gone now because I didn't understand mechanics the way that I did. So the entire story that I wrote was just gone to shit. But it was great because it forced me to think on my feet. It forced me to really just get into what the mechanics do and what they don't. The differences between the older versions and 5e, which is what I'm most proficient in. Yeah, not gonna lie, it scared the ever-living dog shit out of me doing it, but everyone seemed to have a good time and everyone stood. They just wanted somebody to tell a story.
God, you can ask John about how much I prepped for this. Like, I've had so many notebooks because I had so much anxiety about my first session.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, as a player and not a DM, it's still a hurdle. Like, even if you've played for a while, jumping from a player to a DM is still a certain hurdle that you'd have to go over.
Absolutely, and it's utterly terrifying. Which brings us to our next question. What caught your attention with D&D? Basically, what made you stay? What made you roll some dice and decide that this is something that I want to do? This is something that I want to continue. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of notebooks.
And that doesn't even count the DM campaign notebook.
Yeah, it's weird. He doesn't like digital files, so
No,
like even
I
digital
have
character
to
files
write
are
stuff
just...
down.
I'm the
Have to write
opposite.
stuff down.
I gotta have it on like a computer or a tablet or phone.
Oh yeah,
I'm the
same.
complete opposite.
Here's another one too.
So yeah, what made you stick around? Basically, you rolled some dice and you're like, I can roll dice, I can do some math, and I can pretend to be somebody else. What made that stick with you the most?
Honestly, for me, it was, and this is more of a human thing too. Like, we all want to be the hero of our own story, and also life is fucking hard. So for me, it was the escapism.
Kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying, Chad, about like your just being asked to DM out of nowhere. I went the other way where I decided to DM a campaign. I was like, my Magic the Gathering buddies were like, oh yeah, we're kind of interested, and I was like, oh, like, cool, let's go play. Like, I'll put this together. Did not know, mind you, I had the book, but I didn't really understand what modules were at the time. And I was watching some YouTube videos and people had made their own stories, and I was like, I'm gonna write my own story, we're gonna do this. And it failed miserably, but honestly, just the like, I love telling stories. I'm gonna ask Harley, I'm a terrible writer. Good at telling stories. My grammar and everything's terrible. I'd never write a novel or anything. So like D&D just kind of became my outlet for like telling these stories that I had in my head, and like being a player didn't catch my attention, but being a DM did.
I like it. I respect that. What about you, Ventura? What made you want to stick around after that first dice was cast?
So my favorite aspect of D&D is the combat.
Okay.
So I do love beating people and things to a pulp. So why not? This is legally where I can do it.
Playing a healer.
I did. Well, I did it legally.
You're playing the healer in this campaign.
You needed a healer, so I'm like, all right, let me put the gloves to the side and get drunk. Why do you think if he was sober?
I got called the min-maxer before, and now I feel like the one who wants to combat and fight everybody's the min-maxer.
Well, Chad knows that I don't make characters for min-maxing. I will take like negatives in a lot of things in order to have fun with it.
Okay, that goddamn Savage Worlds campaign I played in, we had a wizard. My friend Jackson played a wizard named Minius Maximus. He min-maxed the fuck out of that character in Savage Worlds, if I remember correctly, because I was like, this was like 10 years ago at this point. I was like 18. You have to have power points as a spellcaster to be able to use your magic. So as long as he had power points, he was essentially a god. But the minute he ran out, he was worse than useless. And we got TPK'd because he used all of his power points showing off trying to take down a random dragon that was supposed to just be passing by. by himself. So for the entire orc raid battle, he just hid in a barrel.
So it wasn't a TPK, it was an almost TPK.
Oh no, the barrel got
Yeah.
obliterated. He died too.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
It's prop hunt.
What about you, Spencer? You rolled your first die. You put Norvian on the page, and you're still here. What's keeping you here?
A little bit of what everybody said, and one of the things that makes it really interesting to me is there's just unlimited freedom. You know, when you're playing a video game or something, even if it's based on D&D or anything like that, you're still limited to kind of the paths that the game wants to take you and the options that the game wants to take you. Where, at least in my limited experience so far, it seems like we can at least try anything. It might not work, but that level of freedom and interaction with other people, as opposed to just like intricately programmed lines of code that kind of simulate interactions, it feels like something that's a totally unique experience that you just won't get any other way. And then that sense of community is also a great thing to have. And, you know, so far it's been a very entertaining experience, and I'm sure I still have a lot more to learn. We only just got started, but it's definitely entertaining. It's definitely helping me to kind of understand things better from the D&D perspective, but then it also, you know, a lot of games might be based on D&D, but I don't think that makes me know anything about D&D. Even just the character creation, I had a lot of help with, so thank you all for that.
Oh
But,
god,
you know,
creating Spencer's character. Okay, so Spencer texted me and he was like, hey, I'm creating the characters, there's something I should do. And I was just like, hey, do you want me to just hop on a video call and help you out? I forgot that I'd taken, I'm in a legal state, guys. I had taken a couple edibles. So Spencer, I was stoned as fuck the entire time we were doing that. Just try,
Well, I mean, I had no idea what we were talking about, so may as well have been too.
well, I'm sitting there like going, I promise I'm looking for something. You're looking at me like I'm the one who's supposed to know what we're doing, and my brain has completely fucked off. And you know what? We got it done though.
I might say, really fun character.
Mhm.
I think the only thing that I did was just make sure the numbers went everywhere else. I had nothing to do with character creation. You did the roles. All I did was just put the numbers where they
Yeah, you helped me with a couple of the more intricate. Because like I said, guys, I'm very new to DMing. I don't have a ton of play experience. A lot of my time being a D&D fan, I've mostly been a spectator. I've watched a lot because I don't like going outside. And to find friends that you can play D&D with, normally you have to kind of go outside.
True.
I was just sitting there the entire time, and she was just like, okay, so he wants to do this. How can we make that work? And I'm like, well, this class and this, subclass could do it, or this, and this, and like just providing options. And I was just like,
I have a DM question. Yes, Harley.
Yep. That's exactly how this goes. On the back end, a lot of you guys don't see this in game, but in our personal Discord server that we run all of this on, Remus, and I'll give them back to Enigma. Remus, Enigma, and Chad all have Dungeon Master privileges, because when I sit there and I go, oh fuck, what's going on? I need to be like, hey, can you check this out real quick? And people need to be able to access things like character backstories, or I'm gonna get a little better at the lore keeping and things like that.
So, just so everybody knows, I have not read any backstories. The only thing that I have done at the request of Harley is just fix numbers. That's it.
Mhm.
I love authenticity, and because I hate being spoiled when it comes to like my friends' stuff. When it comes to TV and movies, I don't care. But like, I don't want to know Norvian's history. Like, I don't, because I want to experience it.
I think that's the thing I love about D&D, because like, to be 100% honest, obviously, me, for the people, viewers and listeners, Harley and I are married. We live in the same place, obviously.
You're welcome.
And I, yeah.
We do credit Chad with our marriage.
But so I get like And also being a really big storyteller, like I get story ideas bounced off of me. So I have some idea of where things are going. Because as much as spoilers kind of suck, and I get where Chad's coming from, the best part about D&D is the fact that I don't know what you guys are going to do with it. Like, I know what I would do with it, but like, just because, like, I know what you're going to be presented with, because she's like, does it, like, what do you think about this storyline? Or what if I take this way? And I don't know everything, but I just know more than others. But like, when that moment happens, like, you get to choose what you do. And for all I know, like, if it's like you're presented with some big bad and like, you know, are you gonna go fight? You could run out the door scared and screaming, and I didn't expect that, and that changes the whole storyline.
Yeah.
And it's the best part of it.
You might want to check the overlay there, Harley.
I'm looking at the overlay. It's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
she wasn't displaying
Gotcha.
non-video people.
I can do technology too, Chad.
I'm just making sure.
But simultaneously, it is a nightly conversation in our house where I'll be bouncing ideas off of John, and we're sitting here going, "Are we emotionally manipulating our friends again? Are we making our friends sad again?" Like, the answer isn't going to. Like, I'm still gonna do it. I just want to know if I'm a horrible person.
Oh no, I promise you. We'll get to that part in a little bit when it comes to like the actual DM aspect of things. My wife Sapphire, the exact same thing. I'll finish up this campaign like on a Friday, and then the following day it's like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z for my campaign that I'm DMing, and she'll be like, oh, okay, what's the plot points? Because she's like my plot hole finder. So she has to tell me. It's like, it's almost like a secretary kind of mindset. It's like, all right, you have exactly from 4:30 to 4:45 to tell me everything you want to talk about D&D, because you will stop. And I'm just gonna keep going.
Oh, I love that woman so much.
Yeah, but
100%. There are times I do that too, where I'm just like, I'm gonna go play games now. Like, I've worked all day. I need to go like not do brain things, please.
If you let me, I won't shut up. I get so excited.
which is good. So for me, what made me stick around with D&D, actually that Germany campaign that I ad-libbed the majority of before I actually sat down and started thinking about writing a session or two in advance instead of an entire story. When one of our characters died, like true death, failed death saving throws and everything. Yeah, it was funny how it happened, but he got upset. And I thought about it, and it couldn't have been because of the story. It couldn't have been because of the mechanics. It was because of his own actions as a player, making his character do this. But then the following session, when we had his funeral, everybody at the table got quiet. The music was playing in the background. I was given the details, and everyone just got quiet. One of the guys even started like tearing up. And I'm not saying that I'm Tolkien when it comes to writing, or Harry, or the bitch who did Harry Potter. But
that one.
That one. The simple fact that I'm just making a 20-minute narration of this funeral pyre, the smoke, the lights, the background music, what everyone is seeing, the NPC that was with them, helping them out, and I've got a grown-ass man sitting 5 feet from me, looking like he's about to cry. That was the thing that made it to where I need to do this. Like, I need to tell stories. Kind of like what Enigma was saying, like the storytelling aspect's the best part. The simple fact that I can make a grown man cry just by talking about something that doesn't exist. That for me, it was like, yep, that's enough. I'm gonna devote a lot of my off time to reading. Maybe not so much story writing, but working on my narration, working on my word choice, working on presentation. Because I can always tell a better story than I did last time, so it's like a motivation.
If I could piggyback off of that is fair. I'm very new to DMing. I didn't really think about it. But I think the thing that really had me, the moment where I really felt like a DM, I'm not gonna lie, Like, I felt kind of like I'm stumbling through it this whole time, but the moment that made me actually feel like a DM is the very beginning of Phil's first solo episode, because I wrote an entire little, it's only like a page long here, but like an entire little dream sequence for Phil to start him on his way to the Witchlight Carnival. And Remus is someone, love him dearly, little bit of an emotional masochist. So he's flat out told me, I want to hurt so much from this campaign that I question our friendship. And I'm like, okay, I need you to remember that you said that. Because I read the thing that I'd written and just, he was like, yeah, I do kind of hate you a little bit. But it actually felt like storytelling. Like it felt like I was doing what I see people like Nikki from Legends of Evantris or Brendan Lee Mulligan or Matthew Mercer do. Watching this same Witchlight campaign played on Legends of Evantris and seeing kind of how Nikki handled things firsthand is what made me go, okay, I think I can do this. It won't be the same because obviously your players really drive your story. But I didn't actually feel like a DM until that was probably my 6th session. That's the most recent one I've DM'd.
Which is good. Speaking of, that video's on YouTube now.
It
Click
is.
and go watch it.
You can
Like,
find
subscribe, comment.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Yeah.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Lemon8. That is a
All
cat.
those things.
I
know nothing about any of it.
and we're
That is a
we're
cat.
also on Threads and Blue Sky. I have made accounts
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Nice. Yeah. with the
Someone tell me
storytelling-
how I use Twitter and Blue Sky. I don't understand these. I don't know these
You mean
ones.
X?
No idea.
That is the
Uh,
only thing I will ever dead name. It's fucking Twitter.
Yeah, it's always Twitter.
With the storytelling, it kind of like solidified a little bit better because the table campaign that I'm doing now, I've been doing for probably about 7 months. Yeah, I think since February, so a little bit longer. We've had some breaks, but
Yeah.
My wife's played a few times. This is the longest she's ever played. She's heard my storytelling and she's like, maybe I could probably do it. So we talked to her about some stuff to think about. She would give me story aspects that she wants to try, and then I would give her some. Here's a scenario. I walk into the tavern. What do I see? She tells me what I see. She wants me to go to the bartender to start the story. Well, my character may be kind of like Ganta. He's more interested in what people are cooking. So instead of going to the bartender, maybe he wants to go to this table who's got this elegant meal, and he wants to ask this random NPC. So like stuff to think about when you're writing stories. Like think about what the individual character is into, not just the overall story. Because at that point, you're just shoehorning. Excuse me. Being able to make people get angry or sad or have that fuck yeah moment when they take out the boss moment or they solve that puzzle. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I narrated one of my characters at the table's pet companion sacrificing himself to resurrect another player, I start crying. I start tearing up. And then my wife, and then her brother, and then some of the other people. You can't beat good emotion. Even if the emotion is just straight confusion, like Norvian has half the time.
The amount of concern when I was clipping the I think we were in Pixie Kingdom, and Ganta was trying to justify the swan thing, and here's
Yep.
like, for dinner, right? Not for fucking.
Mhm.
Just
Come on,
you were
it's
so
never gonna die.
It will eventually.
Never gonna die. Yeah, when Ganta
It's just-
dies.
So recent.
No, it's forevermore.
The characters have stopped caring, but I will still call you a swan fucker to your face.
Yep, I know. That's why you
Just wait for your next birthday, Chad.
Yep, Chad will remember this.
Note to editor Chad, put a little achievement.
Yep, I got you. Done.
Got it saved.
which brings me to our next topic: being a DM versus being a player. I know this doesn't necessarily apply to Ventura and Spencer, but maybe this hearing a little bit about our back and forth between being a DM and a player, maybe it would give you some insight and some future thoughts. So, Enigma, what is your hot, maybe not a hot take, but what's probably the biggest, besides the obvious storytelling aspect, but what's the biggest difference at a table going from the head of the table to the side of the table?
I mean, I'll start off with a bit of a hot take, at least in my personal opinion. I find it harder to be a player than I do to be a DM.
Really? That kind of is a hot take because I'm having a blast.
Yeah, right.
Do nothing.
The reason for me overall, like I said, I'm a storyteller. I love even with this character, you can ask Harley. I was like, there's a story I have in mind. How we get there is how we get there. But like, I love building these stories. The problem that I had, and Chad, you probably saw it in the first couple of episodes, because it's something you probably would have picked up on. Like, I've never been able to come into a campaign and just have that character, like have that voice, have what this character is going to act like.
Yeah.
And like, so having the role play voice on or anything like that, versus when I'm a DM, like coming up with a one-off voice that's funny or intimidating, or coming up with these coming up with these one-off speeches is so easy for me. And then coming up with like this complex human being, to me, like, I feel like individual player characters are so complex, just like we are. Every human's complex. Versus like a lot of NPCs and even big bads, you can make them somewhat complex, but you never have to make them like all like, I don't need to see into their deepest soul. Versus when players, whether it's you DMing for players who do this or when you do it yourself, they make these characters so deep and so complex that you get those moments you were talking about where somebody will cry or be mad over certain interactions. And that's just really hard for me as a player. I honestly, like, the thing for me, the dividing factor between players and DMs, like, I'm not even going to say good players. I think everybody has the ability to create these complex characters as on an individual basis. I think when it comes to being a DM, it is comfortably creating a space where these complex players live out that story that they want to live. And that's just one skill that I feel like I have better than being a player. I can build a space where somebody can come in and their actions can mold it and they can be involved in this storyline. And I'm not pushing them anywhere. I'm not pulling them anywhere. And they get to create this epic adventure that they want to go on. And I just get the enjoyment out of watching them go on it.
What do you think impacts you more between your character failing their last death saving throw versus a player's character failing their last saving throw? So either you as, like, let's say Hero, for example, if Hero were to fail, versus you being a DM and watching your player fail their last saving throw. What do you think impacts you more?
Watching a player, I think this is part of the reason why I can't connect to my character. Like, I can't get into my character so easily. There's been very few times where I've had a character that honestly puts out such a like that I've connected to that much that losing them hurts. Where like I almost, even my own characters, I sometimes tend to treat like long-term NPCs when I'm a DM. Like, oh, I could just build another character, throw them in there, have another fun story. Like, I look at my characters more like plot devices for other players than I do for as like main characters. So watching somebody else who I've either willingly or unwillingly have helped them build this person into existence, watching them die is like losing. It's like watching one of your favorite characters die in a TV show. It's like, it hurts.
And it probably hurts worse because that's a character that you helped mold. Like, yeah, they played it, but you gave them the script.
Oh my god! Like, I mean, it. For example, I think the most painful death. I was one of the girlfriend of one of my friends who was playing D&D with me. This campaign, and for her first campaign, I had oh god, we were playing. Why am I forgetting the campaign? Whatever. We were playing. I'm just like gonna move on because I'm like going through my brain of like I've only played a handful of modules, and I'm like, was it the Curse of Strahd campaign? Was it this one? Was it? Doesn't matter. We were playing a 5e campaign, and she had built up this character, and like when I say she would role play this character, she was in love with this character. It was like her personified as how she always wanted to view herself, and she had so much fun with it. And we had like this whole redemption arc with her parents that she got back together with because they had a problem when they were kids or something like that. And like she had fleshed out all this stuff, and we were on the big bad, like the final fight of the campaign, and 3 of my characters didn't make it out. But watching her face when her character didn't make it out, and then having to narrate how there was a statue now of the 3 characters who didn't make it out in the final fight, and one of the characters was long lived. And so he, at the very end, I was like, all right, campaign's wrapped, we're good. He's like, I got one more thing. And he describes how 100 years on, everybody who was alive during that fight was dead except for long-lived creatures. He went back to the statue and cleaned it up every year.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
It's like,
Fuck
bro.
you a little bit. Ouch.
I was like, I don't need this.
Dude, that would hurt me, man. That would hurt right
Oh,
here.
Woo!
That's
yeah.
storytelling, dude. That is role
Like,
play. That is commitment.
I know, and I was like, I had literally been like, and that's the end of the campaign, guys. Like, we're wrapped. And he's like, I have one more thing. I was like, go ahead. And he was just like, whatever his character name was, came back every year, clean off the statue of his friends he lost in that fight. He also said he buried the final member of the party who died, like, of natural causes.
Ow.
With the statue. Like, I was like, bro, fucking chill. Like, this girl's already over here, like, bawling her eyes out because her character died.
Don't
and now
make
he's
my
saying
fucking
this.
makeup run, John.
Jesus.
Spencer, this is what I meant when I said emotional trauma is just a part of D&D.
Yeah.
Emotional damage.
What about,
No, it was just crazy.
It's, dude, like, I can't even say I'm sorry because that ticks my brain. Like, I love that kind of stuff when someone takes that little extra step to really sell that roleplay moment.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I wouldn't even thought about it. Like, I wouldn't even thought about, like, he's long lived and is going to be, the only one left after a while. Like, so
That's painful,
Yeah.
but in a good way.
yeah. But I mean, and it just made me feel so good because, like, as a DM, setting your players up for that kind of, like, because
Oh,
these were all
God.
players. Like, I think we were on our for the guy who did that role playing and 2 other players at the table. It was their second campaign with me. The first one was the homebrew campaign that I did, and then we went to the third. We like. For 2 of the players at the table, it was their first campaign. And so I'm just like second campaign and first campaign. And I was like, it almost makes you proud as a DM where like somebody who's on their second campaign felt that, like, all of them felt that comfortable by the end of the campaign to role play like that. I mean, like, wild, just absolutely a great feeling.
It's
Yeah, I prefer being a DM over a player. 100%.
What about you, Harley?
It
Being a
varies.
fresh DM.
There's a lot of stuff I haven't experienced yet. The one that I've got some shit planned, I will not be apologizing. But
Looking forward to it.
there was a moment in the Legends of Adventures campaign that I keep referencing that I love, where
They're good.
one of their characters goes into a frog statue. And the thing that none of the players, well, one of the NPCs goes into the frog statues, followed by a player character shortly after. The thing that these players didn't realize, but Nikki knew the entire time and had to keep a straight face for, which is the part I'm a little worried about, because my face says exactly what I'm thinking. That frog statue has the same mechanics as a bag of holding. For those of you unfamiliar with how entering a bag of holding works, is technically you can do it, but it's kind of like its own mini pocket dimension, where there's not things like air, and there's no way out.
Yep.
So you watched this NPC that had become like the little sister of this campaign slowly suffocate to death. And then the players realizing, once the other player character followed in, they realized what it was. And realizing that they had just been making light about Twig walking to her death. And just to drive it home, because that's what we do as DMs, she went in to try to get, one of the characters has a hat that he loves. She went in to get the hat. And you find her hurled up right next to the hat, and you can still see the tiny finger marks in the satin as she was trying to reach for this hat. John came home from work, and I'm sitting on the couch just bawling. But I'm like, I know I won't say I know what moments these will be for us, because one, we don't know everything that's going to happen yet. That's driven a lot by you guys. But I know there's one NPC you know about, and there's a couple you guys don't. And that's some tragic shit is going to happen to either player characters or NPCs if it fits, because we've all said we're cool with death.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very interested to see how I handle having to keep my fucking mouth shut during these moments, because I want to sit there and start just going, oh no,
baby boy,
no, babe.
I mean,
no, baby.
just for a point of reference, well, like I said, she bounced story ideas off of me sometimes. Well, bouncing some story ideas off of me, she's started crying already. We're not even there in the story. She's just like, but what if this happens? And like, I was like, no.
I'm trying to desensitize myself already. But then there's also moments where I'm like, I'm planning out all of this morbid shit that's going to happen either to these NPCs or to you guys at certain points in your personal story arcs. And I'm like, I love it when I get to hurt my friends and make them feel things.
So when you're bouncing these ideas back and forth and you start getting into your feels, is it more a feeling of just the story in and of itself is impactful, or how you think the player's emotions are going to be during it?
It's a bit of both. It's probably come up in game already, but I am high masking autistic. And one of the symptoms that I have is I feel emotional stuff a lot more than the average person. Would have been great to have that information growing up, but I did not figure that out until I was an adult. So I cry really, really easily. Like it's just emotion in general. I have, autistics have extra empathy in some places and not enough empathy in others. And the kind of empathy we have a lot of is if you have emotions, that means I suddenly have emotions. So I know it's going to be sad, which means I get sad. Like in anticipation. But at the same time, there's especially for the two that I have three that I have really, really planned are Phil, I wanted to say Ventura, and that's not right. Your character, Azul, and Norvian.
Good luck with that, buddy.
And
I never played D&D before. Congratulations. We're gonna hurt you.
Main character now.
And you're gonna be back for more. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, everyone's getting their main character arc. Spencer, I'm being nice to you. Your main character arc isn't going to come, for the most part, until we get to the very last bit. So you'll have some time to practice before you have
Which
to be
means
the
it's
main
gonna
character.
hurt the worst.
Which means it's
Okay.
gonna hurt the
Yeah.
worst. That doesn't mean I won't manipulate the people around you to make you feel things.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I don't want to be treated with kid gloves, like I want the full experience, and I have a great group of people around for it, so
Just
Okay,
remember that you
can cry on
said
my
that.
shoulder, buddy.
yeah, no, I said that, but I think it's the best way to do it is to get a fair shot at it, like
It's-
I don't want to be treated with total kid gloves the whole time, and it's like, oh, I play D&D, and then I go play with if I play the same group or a different group, and then the gloves are off, and I'm like, I have no idea what
What's
I
going
like. I'd rather just
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Spencer, in that case, do you have a backup character?
Yeah.
I can start.
actually
I can think of one. But I mean, I have been eased into things, and I've had a lot of help with it. But I still, would like to get at least what could be a kind of true experience to it. As we go on more, I'm sure I'll kind of get more familiar with it and more comfortable with it. But I also want it to be something where it's not like, okay, let's baby him at every possible opportunity,
Norvian pulls out a different hat. I'm here to avenge my brother. I have not been mentioned until this point.
Good. Chad, if you don't mind, do you mind if I ask a question?
Sure.
What?
One last thing on the
All right.
DM train, though.
Sure.
My new favorite phrase and little weapon that I get to use as a DM is, you can try.
You know what? Go ahead. Let's see what happens.
You can try.
Yeah.
And just like the anxiety that you start to feel at the table when you do stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, the best moment as a DM is when you describe something like you walk into this room and X, Y, and Z are happening. When you get a whole table at one time going insight check or
Yeah.
perception, like greatest moment, because you're just like, it's just a room, guys. But like I described it in such a way, you were like,
It was me when we were trying to get out of the when you guys were going up against the door to get out of the cave that led through the hearth. I'm like, it's a door. Guys, it's a door. It's a
I'm taking
door.
the traps.
You also got to remember who you're DMing for. We're gonna
Yeah.
be stupid.
No, Ventura, you weren't here there. I'm just
So-
like, they successfully insight
I
checked
wasn't
it,
there.
and I'm like, okay, and it is just a
It's
door.
the door.
They had a 5-minute argument about who should touch the door first, and then John shoved Norvian through the door.
And it was just a door.
It was just a door, but Chad did have a very valid point. The door is just a door. We don't know what's on the other side of the door. Here's the thing, boys. You could have looked. You could have opened the door and looked.
No,
Look,
you're looking
I
at the door. You're
Look, it's
inside on
Normandy.
the door.
Norvian was my look.
Yeah, it's D&D. Everything's out to kill us. What's your
No,
point?
I mean it. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Oh, sorry. I mean, all I was gonna ask to the two people who really haven't DM'd before, because it's always on my mind. I've never asked players this before. Knowing that these moments come of like these huge character moments, like in every campaign, DMs normally set up these huge character moments. Like, obviously, Spencer, this is your first campaign, and you're probably prepping yourself mentally now. But like for Ventura, who's played before, like, what goes through your mind in these when these main character moments come up, or they're coming eventually?
So for me, knowing that, let's say for instance that my Azul Herringon is going to have a character, I know it's going to happen at this moment. It's still just me playing Azul as a character. He doesn't know what's going to happen, so I'm still playing into it blind as Azul would. and then the emotion would happen as things progressed in that character moment. Other than that, Azul doesn't think he's the main character. He doesn't think this is his story to tell. He's not Tidus from Final Fantasy X. It's not his story.
He's not Chad.
Yeah, he's not Chad.
We love you,
There's no
Chad.
spotlight.
I'll just see myself out.
Honestly, though, as a DM, one of my favorite things to watch is you and Remus play off of each other. I talk so much because I don't want there to be a ton of dead space, and I love it when I get to just sit back and watch you guys. It is the reason that I never DM stoned, because if I do, I'm going to forget that I am the DM and start watching you and Remus like a goddamn TV show.
Because we are pretty funny.
It's great.
But Spencer, you this is literally your first time ever playing, so with knowing that you will be the main focus at some point, and I don't mean like half of a session because you're doing a game.
3 to 4
we're in
sessions.
the carnival right now. Yeah, it's gonna be like you, like Norvian played by Spencer, will be the main focus. Like all of us, all of our decisions, our interactions, everything that we want from the DM is going to be focused on you at some point. 3, maybe 4 sessions, maybe even more. How does Spencer feel knowing that it's coming at some point?
So, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. And I'm sure it'll make me feel a bunch of emotions. And I don't plan on trying to hide those emotions. Like, I don't think, I'm going to be some big, stoic, tough guy. Like, no, that's silly. Like, if I feel, I'm going to feel because, we're all human. But I think it's going to be a good opportunity because, none of you know me that well, but I've kind of always been like a really rational, analytical person who's prone to overthinking things a lot. And I think that this environment, I know, kind of like, I don't want to say puts me on the spot because there is a lot of thought that goes into this and how we want the characters to evolve and develop. But it is something still where, you do have to be able to come up with things on the fly. So it's a good way for me too to kind of, think things out, but then also just try to put myself in the character's perspective. And if there's a reaction that they have to make on the fly, I kind of want to maybe also make that decision on the fly as that character instead of trying to plan out every single possible little thing in an ever-expanding branch that just doesn't reflect reality, because if I get thrown a curveball, then I have to throw everything I just thought of away. So, I have a good group of people around me to kind of guide me, and I'm sure I'll learn more as I go, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing things develop and kind of putting myself in Norvian's shoes also. And I've got the guidance to not make a character that's like way far away from what I would normally act like and think like, so I'm not having to constantly fight myself for every single decision my character would make. So it's, I don't want to say easy because it's not easy, but at least I had some good tips to not make it more difficult than it has to be.
If you had to give any kind of advice, being the most newest to D&D in its entirety, if you had to give any kind of advice when it comes to playing a character while it's still fresh in your mind, what would you say? You have a bunch of kids who just picked up their first player's handbook. One of them picks up a Dungeon Master's Guide, and one of them gets a dry erase board and some bottle caps to use as minis. And
Okay.
2 of these little kids come up to you and like, "Hey, I'm playing a character for the first time." What's your piece of advice when it comes to being involved with your character?
Okay, and correct me if you feel like I'm totally off base with it, but I'm thinking playing something that you're familiar with how they would think in a variety of situations, whether you're playing kind of a version of yourself or a version of a character from something else that you know well and have that familiarity with. I know I'm sure you could grow into a character too, but having some, at least in non-D&D things in life, having familiarity with the topic always makes me more comfortable with it, especially, if I have to present something, having familiarity with that topic makes me much more comfortable presenting it. So if I kind of have a background either of how I would act or how my favorite character from something would act, or kind of just a mishmash of different characters, but having some background on how you think a character would act and why they would act the way they do and what they want, I think that would help kind of make decisions a little bit easier than trying to make something 100% entirely from scratch with no help or no guidance at all. So, you know, some sort of template seems to help. So, you know, I've pulled a little things here and there from different things that I'm familiar with or that I know about. And I didn't try to go too complicated. Like, I don't know what you all would think about going like super complex off the start, but I didn't want to go with some like crazy twisting and turning 17 plot twists and character revelations. Like, I feel like that might be a little daunting for the first time, or at least it would have been for me. So I'm trying to keep it relatively simple, I guess.
And I'd have to agree with you, because if you get like you've all met my daughter. She's just a bundle of love and joy. She just wants to play with everything. If you've got someone with that kind of personality, just likes to have a good time and make friends with everybody, it doesn't make sense for their very first character to be a dark, broody, doesn't trust anybody. You know, your typical rogue is like, I was raised by wolves and everybody hates me, so I work alone. It's like, look, now you have the biggest bubbly personality in the world, and you've never done this before, and you come into this world knowing that this is a role play heavy environment. You sure you're gonna have are you gonna be comfortable? Are you gonna get locked into something that you can't get out of? Like, especially if you got campaigns like beautiful, wonderful DM, Witchlight Carnival. You sure you want to play a dark and broody character when you naturally have a very bubbly personality in a bubbly campaign? Are you sure that's the path you want to go? If that's what you want to do, then do it. I'm not going to say no. But I feel like people would have a bad time because they're going to feel outshined by other people playing characters that might have more experience.
I do also have a DM question for our wonderful moderator, Chad, when we get to that point. But the one thing that Spencer did that I absolutely love is when he gave me his backstory, he gave me bullet points. He's like, these are the things that I want. This is what Norvian knows. Have fun with the rest. So I've taken a lot of that, and that's exactly what your character arc is going to circle around, but you don't know what direction I'm taking a lot of this.
Yep.
Yeah, so my confusion will be authentic. I don't have to fake that.
You'll be like fucking with Peter Parker, the most recent one. What's his name? Tom Holland. They only gave him bits and pieces of the script because he can't keep his mouth shut. So when he looks like he has no idea what's going on in the movie, it's because that's not a page of the script that he was given. So he legitimately has no idea what's going on.
Nice.
Speaking of not having a script, it brings us to our next topic of discussion here. Improv skills.
My DM question beforehand is, Chad.
Go ahead.
We've talked about this and we've actually done this. As the DM, you really get to prioritize the story over anything else. We have fudged so many roles to make a good story.
I can't deny that I've done it. It'd be really, really, really shitty that if I'll use my table as an example. If the main character is all about trying to get away from Dad's hold, like one of my characters, he's trying to like do amnesty and get away from his father, and he gets there and he can't persuade the guard to let him through, even though he's family. Like, it's such a bad thing to just. Yeah, you convinced him because yep, he rolled a 2, man. You're good. It's because us as DMs, we have the power to tell the story the exact way that we want, but we choose not to do that because it tells a better story. And fudging your rolls, even though it's kind of frowned upon, like what you get is what you get, and I know this might be my. If it makes a better story, then the BBEG or the boss that's going to go after Hero, and I'm the DM, he's going to go and take a big old hit on Hero. This is Hero's boss. I don't want Hero to die. We've already been playing this for 10 rounds, so like we've been doing this stuff for like 2 hours. And you know what? Hero's next. boss is almost dead. Come on, hero. All right. I rolled a 4. He doesn't hit hero. Now hero gets a chance to to take out his threat, to take out his boss. To me, it's just better storytelling.
Part of why I introduced both our house rules. We use Deal with the Devil and the Fey Curses. Because Chad, you'll know this, Chad and Ventura, pretty much everyone but Spencer, I'm so sorry, Spencer, will know this, that the D20 system gets really swingy. And
yeah, you would have a harder time than I do.
I don't know why. I always roll like hot shit. And I really, really like the Fey Curses and the Deal with the Devil, because in those moments where it is important to the character, but we also don't want to keep fudging rolls, it gives you a way to tell the story the way you see your story. Like, just like Chad said, that character, if that character dies, before his story even gets started, what's the point? Why are we even here? And I, as a DM, even though fudging rolls is kind of a hot, controversial thing, I will always do it if it's going to tell a story that will not only be entertaining to watch because we record all of our stuff, but will also give my players that feeling of fulfillment.
Yeah, it's so crappy when like this random encounter of wolves takes out Norvian in one shot because I rolled 2 natural 20s back to back on a multi-attack.
It's like,
that sucks, man. I'm not doing that crap, especially on a random encounter.
Oh God, yes.
Because the way that I do encounters, it's meant to be like testers. So hey, you guys just leveled up. Here's this encounter. Test out your new stuff.
Let's see how we do.
It'd be really. Go ahead.
It's just let's see how we do. And I don't know how I run encounters yet, because I've ran session 0, which technically wasn't really a session 0.
No, I was wondering about that. You kept saying
you
0, and I'm
that,
like, and then you're like, you're gonna record it. I'm like, what?
I had
You're not even playing. What's happening?
I had so many ideas for everything. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. If I have to sit through a session 0, which is mostly just fantasy paperwork, my anxiety is going to get the best of me. So I'm going to use my DM powers and do this my way. And basically, it was 0 consequences playtime. We weren't at the carnival yet. They got some combat thrown at them. They got some puzzles thrown at them. And I just told them, like, do whatever you want. You're not dying. Like, this is 0 consequences playtime. But that was also so that I could figure out how mechanics work before we're facing down, Agden Longscarf or Bavlorna Blightstraw, one of the hags. And I don't really understand combat yet.
Fair.
Always, like, going off of the fudging rolls and everything, I've always been more of it's my own version of, like, the rule of cool. They're like, if something's cool, I don't care. You don't have to roll for it. We're just going to let you do it. More so, I consider it like the role of narration. Or like the rule of narration. Like, there comes certain, like, when we're talking about moments in character art specifically, where, like, look, if before this fight you give some amazing speech, like you're just RPing like crazy, if the fight needs to be an epic fight, we'll have the epic fight, don't get me wrong. But if, like, you just need a moment, like that moment for that character that makes them, the savior or anything like that, yeah, give me an epic speech. We build up the confidence for this. I'm not we don't need to have, if it's not an epic fight, if it's not a BBG, it's just like some side boss that's character specific, go fucking kill the guy. We're not doing combat. You just gave this epic speech. I'm gonna let you cut his head off and hoist it on a pike if you want. Like, and it's like, it's very, like, rule of cool is typically like, oh man, that's a cool idea, I didn't even think about it. And I feel like it's a little too, some people take it a little too leniently. But like, if one of my players really sets up a situation where I feel like if they fail this roll, it screws up everything. I'm just gonna let the narration carry basically like a nat 20. You can one-shot this guy, or you can succeed no matter what. You're trying to persuade a group of villagers to help you fight the army that's coming in, and you give some heroic speech about how we're all gonna work together. We're gonna see the sunset and the sunrise tomorrow. Yada da da da. You don't have to roll persuasion in my book. Like, just because in real life, like, you wouldn't have. I like in storytelling or movies or even real life, if somebody gave that kind of speech that like hit everybody at the table in the field, we're gonna back you up.
Yeah.
So I don't see the point in a roll when he's basically, look, your speech gave it a nat 20 automatically. Let's go.
Have you ever, without spoiling anything for our current campaign, so outside of this game, our two DMs here, and also Ventura as a player, have you ever instructed a player to fudge a roll for something? And also Ventura, have you ever been told to fudge a roll?
For myself, I don't think I've ever been told to fudge a roll on purpose.
That might change.
I've been told information that I should bring up, but nothing about rolling.
I can't really speak.
I will do that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'll fudge my rolls myself. I'll fudge my rolls myself because it's fun sometimes. But I choose to fail.
We fall nat one-ed when we shouldn't have.
I can
What about our DM?
I can only speak as a DM for this session. The one instance I was thinking of because it came up was Ganta at the Witchlight Carnival, because as you'll see when we get to the Feywild, Ganta's kind of a miserable bastard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Without spoilers.
Chad immediately came to me and was just like, I don't think Ganta's going to be fun here. And written into the book, this was not a homebrew thing. There is, I don't remember what it's called, but it is a shot that basically gives you the condition. You are easily amused. Any personality traits that would challenge that are suppressed.
Yeah.
So we just made sure that, and it was always little stuff, but it was, let's just make sure that for the part where people need to be having fun, Ganta isn't a wet blanket on everybody, because that's going to tell a shitty story.
A little bit of clarification. It wasn't so that Chad's not going to have fun. Like, because I'm having fun.
Oh, no, I know you'd have fun no matter what. But if Ganta's sitting there...
Ganta's not going to have fun because of, without spoiling, Ganta's backstory and Ganta's history and his personality. Ganta's not going to have fun, which is going to be really, really difficult for Harley to try to, not force, but like to incite camaraderie.
I feel like it would almost break one of the rules that you gave me, which is the things that players need to be able to answer about their character. And it's, why is your character willingly here? And if Ganta's forced to go to this carnival, he's gonna be like, well, I don't want to be here. I'm gonna speedrun this whole thing. You guys ended up speedrunning it anyway, but at least you did it on accident.
Yep.
And it would just be Ganta pouting in the corner the whole time, building resentment towards his fellow party members, and that breaks down the entire party dynamic.
Exactly. We want to, as much fun as this is, like, we are putting on a show.
Yeah.
So in order for us to put on that show, you can't have a guy just sitting there not doing anything. Because that's one of my rules for my real life table campaigns is, does your character work well with others? And does this character want to go on adventures? If either one of those is a no or a maybe, scrap that idea. I have to follow my own standard. Ganta would still go with everybody. Ganta would still want to adventure with everybody. Ganta would work well with everybody. Just Ganta would not stand out. Ganta would not really contribute to the atmosphere of the carnival. So that would just be really bad storytelling and really bad player/DM brain. So
I mean,
we said, Harley, throw that shot at me. and watch
Yeah.
the spinning top go.
So while
That's
we're here, I really do need to pee. So can we take a quick break then get to improv?
Go ahead.
Let-
I already went to pee, so we can just keep talking.
Okay.
we could just
Well,
keep talking.
I'll
Chad's
pee.
over there.
And Chad,
Yeah.
I think you're hitting your 2-hour threshold, by the way, because you're starting to cut out pretty bad.
Okay. So everyone give me waves. All right. 3. You can stop.
There isn't
You
a
never
stop
said
me wave.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't say. You just said wave. Okay.
All right. And we're back. We had a break. We had some human anatomy
Body breaks.
issues. Women.
I needed to pee. Sue me.
So we're gonna continue on with our improv skills. And this definitely applies to everybody.
Oh God, yes.
So when we talk about improv skills, we're talking about obviously like on the spot. Because as DMs, we have scripts, we have things that we want to stick to, we have key phrases that we want to use with character building, world building. But then you get the random Azul who is like, "Hey, Brittany, how's your baby?" And now Harley's got to come up with something on the spot with that. So how difficult is it for improv as a? We'll do player discussion first, since I don't want Spencer to feel left out. But Enigma, how does improv as a player? How difficult is it for you?
As a player, I don't find improv difficult personally. I think it is one of the hardest skills as a D&D player to have, to learn and get used to. I've always just been like, my brain works, and for some reason, like, you can tell me the start of a story and my brain will finish it. It won't be the same story you're telling, but my brain will finish a completely different side tangent story in my head for some reason. And so like improving has always just become a pretty good skill of mine. So I've never found it difficult, except realized this campaign made me realize actually a lot that when you're improving, although you have an idea of how people are going to take certain things or understand what you're saying, not everybody reads into it the same way. Bringing up the end of our last session, where my character was talking about was talking with Phil about like our tragic past, tragic backstory incoming, cool. When I said a thing that Ganta overheard, Phil understood what I was saying immediately. That like, I've been through some shit, even though my character's 18 years old. Where Ganta took it as like, he's just a baby, we need to help him.
To be fair, Hero is the equivalent of 18 years old. He's a fire genasi, so he's a little longer lived.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly why I played him the way that I played him, was because that's Ganta hears this kind of stuff all the time. He hears horror stories about kids getting thrown in crappy situations. So when he heard it from you, he just, well, yeah, he's new. He's new to all of this. He might be quote unquote 18, but he's a child.
Where I know from how my character backstory is and some of the things and how fire genasis work for lore reasons and whatever. Hero's been doing this shit for like 4 years. Like, Hero's been an adventurer fighting monsters and like almost dying for like 4 years. Ganta wouldn't know that, and like my brain was just like, I was so happy because it was like Ganta said that, and I was like, oh man, did I fuck up my improv? And then Phil caught it in response, and I was like, oh, thank God. And but like being able to, we went from playing further games, for lack of a better term, like carnival games, to such an in-depth character moment off of like 2 sentences, and like we improv just character growth or character plot development. And I'm just like, man, like, so I don't find it that difficult, but I think it's super important.
Oh God, the amount of chills that I got when we had Phil offer Ganta the oranges, and and that is where we will end our session. I was just like,
I had no idea you were gonna do it at that moment, because that was like, as soon as you did that, I was like,
I want you to know, internally, I was sitting there going, ah. It's
I knew you were.
and sometimes it's a little weird to improv because like I have so many, I won't say plans, I will say ideas for Hither Thither Yon and the Palace of Heart's Desire that I've bounced off John. I can guarantee you 90% of those will never happen, even though technically they could all happen because there's none that conflict with each other. But someone's going to have to improv something that's going to make one of those just not viable. And that's how this works.
What about you, Ventura?
So I did 2 years in theater.
Nerd.
In high school. I'm a thespian. Say it louder. But yeah,
Okay,
so
Thespians are the
been-
thespians.
wait, but
yeah,
did you
it's been probably 11 years.
did you graduate with recognized honors from the International Thespian Society? Because I fucking did.
No, but I got an award for my performance in one of our plays.
Is that why your loudest voice is just
Oh, scream for me. Oh,
we were in Germany and we were just talking about metal music and stuff, and we were just walking. And I was like, "Give me your loudest yell," and I screamed as loud as I possibly could.
yeah, he did that.
Because we were making jokes about skinwalkers and wendigos and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, "All right, Luna, go ahead."
Oh, that was the entirety.
I will.
But yeah,
I will say the theater background definitely helps.
It helps a lot in doing improv because you do that as a practice exercise.
Mhm.
You will just join a scene and you'll have people like, we do a little improv where we just like 2 people will start a scene, and then whenever they're in the middle of the scene, someone will clap, they stop, and then you will interject yourself, swap out with them, and start the scene again with a new, different idea.
Yeah.
So it's not really that difficult in my mind because I've done it before, I practice it. It is a skill though. It is something that is hard to do off rip.
Should we live stream improv games?
Yeah. I mean, we could definitely 100% do a one shot where none of us have any idea of what's going on and just go ham.
There was actually a when I was looking for topics for these podcasts, there is a thing called a mystery campaign, and I want to look into it more because I want to know: do they mean like Scooby-Doo mystery, or do they mean I'm the only one who has any idea what's going on? Because if it's the second one,
Scooby-Doo.
Just had an idea. Complete kind of sidebar. Musical chairs DM.
Oh, I see where that's going.
What do you mean, buddy?
Like we do like a 4-session campaign, and like one DM starts it, the second DM comes in next week and has to pick up where they left off.
Yep.
And then the next week, the third DM has to pick up where they left off, and the fourth DM finishes it off.
Mm-hmm.
let's do it.
Like, you don't get to start the story. You have to be in the middle, or you have to finish it based off of everything that's happened.
I'd say
I
that
feel like that would definitely help the people that haven't DM'd if they want to just take a shot at it for like a small one-time session.
looking at
Not
you,
even a one shot.
Ventura.
It's
This
just
what happened with one of my my players. That's exactly what happened. We had to do a one shot. For the audience out there, my table campaign, the Navir campaign, I created a homebrew item called the Jarvius system, Jarvius, just another random sphere inside, just another random voice inside a sphere, and it's designed for one shots in case somebody couldn't make the session. Well, one of my players was like, "Hey Chad, can I do a one shot instead? I really want to give it a shot. I feel like my acting skills have been getting better, my voices are getting better." And I said, "Sure, by all means." And this dude blew it out of the water. He had an amazing one shot. We had powerful combat. He picked the maps. He picked the music, the scenes, the environments, the dialogue. He created his own race.
oh, nice.
Yeah, we basically just did an alien one shot. And he created everything on his own.
Is it who I'm thinking of?
Maybe. Well, I'll get to you on that. But Spencer, when it comes to the improv, like you're to me, you're kind of a TikTok superstar, being all jacked and shit. I know the stuff that you post comes from pre-planned things. Like this next video is going to be how fast can I do Darth Maul's spin. The next one's going to be this is my Zorro replica. But when it comes to D&D, this is what you got. Like, there's no prep. So how does Spencer handle the improv?
Yeah, so like I touched on before, I have no theater background at all. My background is engineering, so like the total opposite of creativity in a way, you know, like yeah, there is some kind of creativity, but it's still mostly like numbers and math and all that. So, you know, even most of the social media stuff I do is at least roughly planned, and I like to plan out things ahead of time. So this is a good kind of learning opportunity for me too, to improv. And, you know, like I said, I want to have plans and ideas for where I want my character to go, but I also want there to be that level of organic thought and not just, you know, sometimes just, okay, make a decision. My character would be making an on-the-spot decision, so I can't just sit there in my head like, well, I have to think out the next 47 steps of how this is going to impact it. So I'm kind of just sometimes kind of letting go of it and just, okay, how would the character act, and just going with it without second guessing it, because I know I have a tendency to sometimes really overthink things and just, you know, paralysis by analysis, and it's just like, and sometimes you just have to make a decision. And so I think that level of improv for it, and kind of whatever happens after it happens, and I can't just think of every possible scenario and it branches out infinite possibilities. So I think it's a learning experience for me, and I have plenty of people to bounce off of who have more experience with it here. So sure, I'll improve at it, and like everyone touched on, it is a skill. And if it's not a skill I've put a lot of work into developing, I can't really expect to be as good as everybody else, because, you know, it's skills are developed over time. It's not just magically good at it, and having people more advanced at it than I am will kind of give me some ideas and some inspiration and things to work with as well, I hope at least.
And I completely agree, because that's literally exactly how I started with D&D. When it comes to the topic of improv, I had aspirations about being a voice actor one day. Starting off with like goofy voices. I tried my best to imitate it. Anyone who's seen any of my streams years and years ago, I would try to do my best Scream impersonations. So Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, different animes, and that got me into the realm of like creating characters. And Ventura actually can attest to this. Samuel Darkwell was a character I made because we were playing Kingdom Hearts, and it started with anything that was being said on like a TV, I would just repeat in a random voice until I started making those voices become characters, and those characters now have personalities, and now those personalities, I'm just like, and my wife hates it. She gets so irritated. She gets so pissed off because Samuel Darkwell would just be in the kitchen randomly while she's making dinner, or she's working out in the garage, and Clyde, the not racist racist, shows up, and it's just doing random stuff. But because I just got into that headspace of my ADHD brain going apeshit, it's really, really easy for me to, one, be a player, two, improv, and three, keep the momentum going when somebody else has that same kind of mentality. So Remus, for example, Phil, you guys have already seen it. We just go. Me and him, we just go. We can legit go for like 30, 45 minutes, an hour, just back and forth, nothing happening. Ventura instantly picked that up with the tongue thing. We just,
I love the tongue thing.
it feels natural to me because I have somebody who also feels the same way I do when it comes to telling a story, playing a character, and eliminating dead space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. two, it kind of like what Spencer was saying. It's tough. It's definitely an acquired skill. You can be taught it, kind of like Ventura has, or you develop it off of not necessarily a necessity, but as an interest.
And it's been weird this campaign because like and like Chad, if you've played recently at like with another DM, like you'll be or you might understand this, but like being a DM going back to being a player after years of not being a player felt very much like I felt like you, where it's like I'm improving, trying to get the entire table rolling.
Yeah.
And which, I mean, for me, led me, and even still now in this campaign, or less so, but more so in this campaign, to like, I'm going to get you guys rolling. We're going to get you all involved in this and everything like that. I want to give you the space to take part in this, but I also want to like help the DM build this world because I know where the DM's sitting at. Like, please do something.
Yeah.
On that note, I am curious, Chad and John specifically, I'll answer this too, but how does improving as a player differ from improving as a DM?
Wow, that actually segues great into what I was going to finish saying. So,
it's crazy. It looks like you guys finish each other's sandwiches.
She doesn't like sandwiches. She doesn't like bread like that. It's weird. She likes bread in certain forms.
She's not a woman. She's not a woman. Divorce. Call it now.
But,
no, I don't like.
So-
I don't do cold food very well. Sandwiches are cold food, so I like the insides because apparently that cold food is okay.
She
I
also
also like
the
the inside. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, okay.
Leave that alone.
Yep.
Sorry, sorry,
Yep,
yep,
cool.
That's-
Yep, we're all there.
It's not the campaign.
Wait till we start talking about burritos. It gets even weirder then.
No,
Oh.
tortillas are mean. I don't do tortillas. They're mean.
I thought you said you could eat it from the middle out.
No, she'll just eat the insides out.
Yeah. No, I'll dump
Okay.
the tortillas. But Chad,
She is
That's
truly
my wife. I can
she's
say
a
what I want.
thespian. Yeah, she's a
You're
thespian.
ruining my session, guys. I'm kidding.
but
No,
Chad and
what
John.
what I was actually about to say was I have found myself this campaign not meaning to, and I think I said this to Harley the other day when we were just talking about it, and I'm okay with it, completely fine, but with how much you and Remus have been RPing, like obviously I take part, I love RPing, found myself almost not a bad way, feeling more like a plot device as a character than like separate entity, which is a positive and a negative if I were to look at it from the overall span. But for like where I'm at, I'm just like, it's just a weird area to be in where you're just like, you know, I'm trying to like help out and continue the RP like you guys are, but then I'm also just like with other people at the table who are picking up that slack, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's just like, oh man, like I have like this is just an area I didn't expect to find myself in, as being like almost like a plot driven character more than a character driven plot situation.
And to be fair, to your credit, and to your defense, that's a lot of Chad-ism, because me as a player when the camera is not on is like night and day. I don't have a problem. If anybody who knows me knows that I have a main character complex.
Oh, really?
Especially when
Never
when
would
the
have
ball
picked it
starts
up.
rolling. Suck my nuts. When the ball starts rolling, I want to catch the ball. I want to chase the ball. So when the camera is off, it's easy for that switch in my brain to turn off, because I'm not trying to put on a show. I'm trying to just embellish the moment, just exist in the ambience.
Hey, editor Chad. I don't mean to interrupt, but I need to tell you before I forget. I swallowed too close to my microphone. You might want to cut that out.
Nice.
We'll find out.
Okay.
Enhance.
I'm gonna isolate that sound. That's gonna be that's gonna be your natural one roll. No, this is my show. I do what I want now.
You listen to me.
I definitely have a main character complex. But when the camera's off, it's not there. The last time I was a player, I could be satisfied saying 2 or 3 sentences in 20 minutes, and everybody else is doing the role play. When the camera's on, entertainer chat kicks in, and it's no fault of anybody else but mine. I cannot stand dead space. I cannot stand too long of a pause, especially for video editing and for uploading and for an audience. And yes, it's 100% Chad's fault thing. It's my own. It's my crutch. So when the roleplay starts going, it's really hard for me to turn it off, improv or not. It's really hard for me to turn it off because I let the moment carry me away, and I've been telling myself forever that that's a good thing. But then and not picking on Spencer by any means, so please don't take any offense. But then I see Spencer, who's brand new and he's enjoying himself, but I feel like I'm taking away his moment to do the same thing that everybody else is trying to do just because I'm doing it naturally. It's really hard for me to just be natural with it, or non-natural.
Come to your defense in return real quick. One, it's honestly like going back to our streaming days, because like I don't know if you remember our first stream together. The first time we actually met was on the late night trash talking show with Rob.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I moved myself from a participant to the host, like, because I don't mind, like, I don't have a main character complex. I don't think that's the right way to put it, but more, I think every streamer, content creator, like even Spencer for his videos would probably agree. We all have a main character complex. We're all like, hey, look at me, everybody. I think it comes out in different ways though. Like yes. I like to be the coordinator, like the conductor. That's always where I felt the most comfortable. That's why I wanted to be the host on that episode. That's why I like being a plot device character, a plot-driven character, does not bother me whatsoever. And continue to come to your defense. Although like obviously like we all try, like, and we've all been, the people who've played for a long time have been very good about trying to create opportunities for people who, like Spencer, who haven't gotten the chance to like get used to role playing and everything, giving him moments to be like, hey Norvian, what do you think, or just things like that. But I feel like improv's very much to learn improv, you learn it two ways. You watch somebody do it and then you do it. And so as much as it feels, and we make jokes about like Ganta's the main character, the reason I keep saying the minute we get out of the carnival and we move on and we continue on, like I can almost guarantee that by the end of this, Norvian's gonna have some heroic speech and we're all gonna be like, holy hell, where did that come from?
Yep.
But it's all gonna come from the fact that he watched you have some speech 20 campaigns beforehand, or 20 episodes beforehand.
Yeah,
he's
that's the only saving grace. Yeah, that's the only saving grace, because like I feel bad. I know for a fact I've said it multiple times to at least Harley. I don't want to be the main character. I just have a really hard time of like turning off the, like, you have the coordinator brain. I have entertainer brain.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. Like, if you think, I don't mind at all. Like, you know, for one, I think it makes enough sense for my character to kind of be like a little quiet right now, because it's kind of out of his element, surrounded by really eccentric characters. But, you know, out of character also, you know, like...
And Trick.
To be fair, currently I believe Norvian is dressed the most normal, and all he's wearing is spandex strongman shorts.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, talking about like wanting to be the main character, like I mentioned earlier, I only really want to be a main character, even for online things, when it's something I'm comfortable with. So, you know, if it's something in my area of expertise, you know, I'd love to be the center of attention. But, you know, for something that I don't have a ton of experience with and I'm still learning, like I have no real desire to like shove myself into the spotlight of something that I'm not comfortable with. So if any of you feel bad about like, oh, we're taking away from the spotlight, no, you're not. You're like you said, you're giving me something to learn from and something to bounce off of. So to me, it's only a positive to have those other characters to kind of carry me if I need to be carried, and also serve as like a springboard for interactions. So please don't feel bad about that. Like, if anything, it's definitely an asset to me, not a hindrance.
Another issue, I don't know if issue is the right word, but because I'm the editor, I see everything.
Yeah.
I know what I want. I know what I want to be seen as. So because I'm the editor, I see myself, and if I don't like what I see, I'm gonna change it. So when back in our streamer days, I can guarantee you, the first couple of streams that I ever had, I'm talking like this. There's not a whole lot of energy. There's not a whole lot of emotion. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm not. It's apples to oranges right now. But after watching some of my streams and watching some of my YouTube videos that I made a long time ago, my gaming channel, I didn't like what I saw. So I feel like it forced me to have a permanent fix, which would be, if it's quiet, make it not quiet. And that kind of motivated me to do a little bit more of, how do I make it not quiet? Okay, read the room. We have Phil. It's super easy for Chad and Remus to interact as Ganta and Phil, because everything that's happening with Ganta is because everything's going to change once we go to Prismere. No spoilers. So if I can get the improv out now and kind of set the pace and kind of set the tone and the environment, maybe that would help out everybody else. So then Chad can kind of backtrack.
Also, I will say, for our character choices, this is one of the first times, I think, most of my time playing D&D, where they're like, we are the most opposite ends of the earth party when it comes to characters that I've probably seen. Like, there is no reason for most of these characters to get along with other characters. And normally, like, when you have everybody either builds, like you said, the edgelord, I'm solo lone wolf, or they build, like, I just want to help everybody. And then you have a party of, I just want to help everybody, and they get along swimmingly. And that's like the most standard. But because we threw 3 DMs, 1 experienced player, and Spencer got help getting his character built with me and Harley, it became like, all of us are so on the opposite ends of the personality spectrum that without that kind of RP, nobody would really interact. Like, we have no reason to be friends, and like, that's what we're going through now. Harley, you have a hand up?
Yes, I was
I do see
polite
it.
this time. If you're not counting me, it's 4 DMs.
Yep.
You, Chad,
Nate,
and
Yeah.
Remus are all DMs, which, by the way, we have lit the DM fire back under Nate's ass, and I absolutely want, like, seeing how he's played Lathier, I really want to play a campaign with Nate now, like, as Nate DMing.
Absolutely.
Yes, lazy.
Musical chair DM. We're doing it. We're doing it.
We gotta do it one
It's
day.
going to be fucking great.
Okay, Ventura, time to fucking learn
It's gonna
some
be
shit.
chaotic.
So when we get into the realm
Deep
of
in, Spencer.
yeah, I know, right? when we get into the realm of trying to figure out, like you were talking about, the personality spectrum and how everybody is so different, but then it's working. It's working because we're all on the same page that this is a campaign that we're meant to play together.
Yeah.
If
And it's
everyone-
also
go ahead.
so it's also very difficult with the improv, because we're not just improving, we're improving as our characters. So we have to throw our personalities from these characters into it. Not what I would do, it's what Azul would do as that character.
And I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of new players.
God,
is
yes.
When kind of like what Enigma was saying earlier, with making a character fit your innate personality starting off. Doing that makes it to where if you were to get put into a carnival, if you've got that bubbly personality, like my daughter, for example, she's going to want to play every single game. She's going to want to have fun. Spencer might have the recluse. He might have the guy that just likes to sit back and just relax and just watch everything happen. Is it good for entertainment? No. Is it good for plot and story? Sure, because him keeping an eye on everything is maybe he may not have thought about it. I'm not picking on you, just using as an example because I'm looking at your beautiful face. But maybe him
Stop flirting. We're live.
can't help it. Him hanging out, just keeping an eye on everything, inadvertently came the party's protector. Like, hey, I see this guy stealing some shit. Let me go deal with that. DM brain kicks in, realizing that Spencer's playing the watchful eye kind of character. Hey, Spencer, give me a perception check. Just because. And he rolls really high. He gets to see this random dude in the carnival pickpocket this other guy. What do you do with that, Spencer? He rolls a 2. Nothing happens. It's the DM's way of trying to incentivize a little bit of role play, a little bit of improv. If I feel like Spencer just hasn't had enough love, which I will never do that to you, baby. But if he doesn't get enough love in the session, it's my kind of way to look at that character or that person's character. What are they good at? Well, Spencer likes to hang out and just watch everything, make sure everything is safe. Let's put something in there that makes it to where it's not safe, that only he can see, only he can do.
Oh, just wait till we get to Prismere.
Yeah, it may not have a huge detriment to the story. It could just be one of those things like, hey, I saw you take that, go give it back. I don't know what you're talking about. Dude, I saw you.
I literally just watched you.
Yeah, I just watched you. Like, you're holding it in your hand. You're holding the caramel apple in your hand right now, you big dumb
I
idiot.
didn't take anything.
It might be a 2-minute interaction. But kind of like in Spencer's case, what he was saying earlier, that little bit of assistance, 20 sessions later, that might be the thing that Spencer's remembers.
Yeah.
The big thing, as long as we're talking about Spencer, the big thing that I'm really looking forward to see is when we did our pseudo session 0.
You mean session 1?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm calling
Session
it
0.5.
Yeah, 0.5 or half a session. The one place that I really saw Norbian shine was in combat. Like, Norbian, well, obviously, he's a fighter. But, and honestly, I think, Spencer, that comes from your martial arts background. You might not understand the mechanics as much, because there's a lot. Oh my god, there's a lot. But
I'm still learning. I've been a DM for like 4 years. I'm still learning stuff.
Yep.
It's very fun to watch, and I'm starting to see you come out of your shell, and it makes me so happy to watch. But also, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna throw so many things at these guys. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I already forgot what I was gonna say. I've got a goldfish brain.
Okay.
But that's going off of, like, if I were talking to a new player, you know, it's just one of those things of, I would say, like, yeah, not every character has to be this talkative mastermind of, like, you know, witty comebacks and, you know, great lore and here's my entire backstory in a really inventive. We don't need that. Like, you know, you kind of see, like, again, point to the end of last session, me, Phil, and me, Remus, and Chad over here having that, like, here's a little bit of our backstory, breadcrumbs, let's go. Because being DMs, we kind of know how to, like, we're just like, I mean, I'm 99% sure. I'm not 100%, but I know with my backstory, I'm like, oh, I definitely want to, like, make some breadcrumbs and, like, slowly bring this out, just like I would if I was a DM telling a full story. But just because I'm doing that, you know, for, like, Spencer in combat or for any new player, like, combat's a great way. We all understand what a sword does. Oh, I need to explain how I cut this guy's head off? Yeah, let's go. Or I need to explain how I got out of this situation. And, you know, like, those are still RP. Like, just because they're not, it's still improv. Just because it's not storytelling and, all this information. It still is the same skills that we were already using, and pulling from your background to understand these situations is a fantastic use of it.
And I hate it when people like try to apologize to the DM or to the table when describe your kill moment. Like you got the kill, you got the final hit on a monster, and they feel like they get put on the spot. It's like I shoot him with my bow. Hey, that's good. You're. I like to do the thing like if Spencer got the killing blow on this giant, and I promise I'm not picking at you, buddy. But
We just love you.
and and it's literally because you're brand new and you fit the thing perfectly. You're using your pike because I think that's the weapon that you use.
Yeah.
You're using your pike, and you say, "I stab him in the belly with my pike." Cool. I'll look at you for about 2 seconds, and if I'm not picking anything up for you, I describe the kill for you as best as I can. Like you go to stab him in his belly, you see that he tries to grab your the pole of the pike, and as he's looking down, you feel like his strength is weakening. So you take that moment to use your momentum and you push that pike forward, and you basically eviscerate him from belly to chest. Organs start popping out, sinew starts getting ripped open, smells like death and decay. He falls over, toppled pike, spears right through his back because he fell on top of your pike. You backed off, and then you step over his corpse. You pull your pike out, and you put the butt end of the pike down on his back. And you stand there in your gloriousness. Blood, sinew, guts, all covered on your boots from standing on this eviscerated corpse. You don't need to do that in improv if you're not comfortable with it.
But the only way I'll learn to do it is like if I don't take that lead and you explain it, I'll learn from time. So it's like we said earlier, having somebody else who's more experienced in it, seeing how they do things could help me develop my own style
And
as
20
well.
sessions from now, and you go to fight that giant with that pike, and you give the best dissertation about how you eviscerated this thing by stabbing it through the eye out the rectum. Cool, that's freaking awesome, and I like to reward people like that.
So going with Chad's explain your kill. I do it off of experience, and by experience I mean Mortal Kombat. So I go off of like fatalities, brutalities, because those are insane ways for people to die.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'll do for the improv.
And we also got to remember, like, this is a fantasy game. Like, Spencer could probably swing a pike like nobody's business and hit a dude in the stomach and do some damage. Does it work the exact same way against an ogre? Probably not. But I don't like limiting kill shots. And sometimes that like I was saying earlier with Hero, for example, like this is Hero's boss. This is the guy that's been fucking up Hero for 9 sessions, and he's dead tired of this guy. I can't deny the fact that I've already stated that he's on death's door, and Norvian gets the killing blow. Norvian could easily, for his improv, could say, I'm going to set him up, I'm going to stab him. Hero, now's your chance.
Once that roll is succeeded,
boom.
you're good.
Yeah, it's done. Once I say this is the killing blow, you have full reign to do whatever. You can pass the killing blow to Hero. Like, this thing has been messing with Hero for 9 sessions, so in game time, maybe 6 weeks, back to back to back. You get the killing shot because I can't ignore a natural 20. Cool, describe the kill. Boom, Hero, now's your chance. That, to me, it's as simple as that is to me more impactful and powerful than the improv from you itself. Knowing that you took that moment of let my other character shine, because that's what Norvian would do, makes me want to reward Spencer in some way. Maybe a little extra loot, or maybe a reroll token that I give out to my player. Like, that to me is amazing. Like, I want to incentivize roleplay.
It's one
So
of
being able to do something like that is just it makes my heart go doo, 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 doo.
it's one of those things too where once, and this when getting to this point will be different for everybody, but once you are at the point where you can kind of combine what would my character do with what will make a good story. That is your sweet spot for good TTRPG improv. Because, you know what, maybe technically Norvian, and again, we're just picking on you because it's fun. I'm not even going to try to hide it. This is what I mean when I say, if you're my friend, I'm not nice to you. If anyone else isn't nice to you, God help them, but I'm not going to be nice to you.
Yep. Ain't that right, Ventura?
Learn that the hard way.
Even
so
though
good.
technically, you know, Norvian maybe would want that glory because now, you know, he's proven he can do this himself. But for the story, it really wraps up an arc for Hero.
Yeah.
And it's also a timing call. Like I said, I've got a huge theater background. I've been in theater and in film and production since I was 7. I have over a decade, 2 decades of, oh God, I'm old.
Well, shut up. You're the youngest one here.
Yeah.
You know
Let's wait till
what?
life after 30.
I also don't know how old Nate is. I know Nate's older than me, but Chad, you might not be the oldest by so far. I don't actually know what Nate's age is.
We'll find out whose knees give out first.
It's gonna be
Well, Chad, let me see him.
Fine. I didn't have military benefits. My knees.
But the other thing, going kind of back to improv, I meant to mention this and we fucked off, which is fine. Improving as a DM is now my least favorite thing because as a cosplayer, I like to do the voices of the characters I'm cosplaying, and that means that all of my male characters for D&D are nice and rounded and I've got a good spread, and all of my female characters sound like either Catwoman or Harlequin.
Facts.
Don't
I've
have...
noticed that.
Well, because when someone says do a voice,
I didn't say anything.
my
Well, you can only have-
is the
yeah.
Harley voice. Like, that is immediately what pops in my head. But, like, the
Yep,
Q
that's
line...
that's how mine is.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but then with Featherine, like, specifically to get into Featherine's voice, I have to say the Q line, which for her was, are you going to ride or are you moving on to the next group? And if I don't do that, I can't find the voice.
That's literally how I do some of my own NPCs. Walker Muldoon. He's basically Phil, but a Dragonborn. Right? He's a construction worker. He's a construction worker. He's a white Dragonborn. All of his puns are some kind of building or construction.
You realize I'm so tempted to add a fake curse where I just have you be a character that you've previously played in another campaign just so I can put him and Phil in a room together.
That would be crazy.
Don't tempt me. So he's a big old country boy.
I'm making a note now, Chad.
He's a big old southern drawn country boy. In order for me to get to that voice, I have to use a voice that I've made before as like a little gimmick. So I watched a lot of Force and Fire. And for some reason, I don't know why, when they announced the judges, it said Jay Nielsen, David Baker, Doug Marcada.
Oh, don't.
And then that's how I can get down to this voice, and I can talk about how I'm putting up these steel beams up in here. This little bridge right here, it needs a little bit of work. This wood starting to get a little rot. Gotta fix that. Hey, boy, get over here and pick up them sandbags and bring them over to the back of the wagon. Like, that's what I have to do to get to that voice. I can't just walk right.
See, honestly, so this is, I mean, I don't know if it works for everybody. Trick that could possibly work for anybody. So, even though I have a huge theater background, a lot of my background because of theater is actually music related. I was huge into music my entire life, like bands and everything like that. And the problem I always had with pitch when I was growing up was finding that first note. I could remember everything perfectly from there, but that first note threw me off a lot when I was younger. And one of my previous teachers gave me the hint of when they're playing the intro to the song, it's typically the chorus or the bridge or whatever, and you sing it. That's how you get the first note, because you just sing it in your head. You don't sing it out loud, obviously, into the mic, but you're just like, okay, there we go, I'm into the song. I do the same thing with voices. Like, I I can drop into voices if I like give me a little heads up. It's just one of those things of I'm just like, okay, like let me hear the voice in the back of my head, the same way I would a song, and then I can drop into it.
Literally before every session, and I haven't said this, so Harley has no idea. Before every session, I go on YouTube and because Ganta's got like an old old timey Southern English, think Jon Snow, right? Before every single session, and I know it kind of gets away with me as the session goes, but before every session, there's a 5-minute clip of how to sound like Jon Snow that I got inspiration for Ganta's voice. I watched that before I joined the call.
I love you so much.
Every single time, because I'm an entertainer brain. I got to do what I can to put out the best content. Well, if I'm trying to talk like this and then try to find my way back to Ganta Dolmont, it sounds just Chad with a fucking shitty British
How can
accent.
I help you?
Yep. But then when I watch the video and I actually sit down and think about it for a second, instead of just Ganta Dolmont, how can I help you? Thank you.
It's honestly.
I have to specifically think about it.
Chad, you're gonna laugh because you know really what I've been building for Click Clack, the Fairy Dragon Kobold NPC. The descriptor I used, thank you so much, Chad. The descriptor I used to describe her was she's really, really good at getting her hands on shit. She does not stop to consider whether this is something she should be touching or not.
Afterthought.
Oh yeah. But so the voice that I've chosen for
You know who's going to be best friends with her? Ventura.
Ventura, she's shorter than you too. She is 2 feet tall.
Oh yeah. I hope she does uppies to me, and then I do uppies to someone else. So that it's just a chain of uppies.
Just upception.
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 But the voice I've chosen for her, I call myself a gremlin of a human being. And when I'm being goofy, I'll take that on, and I just have the little gremlin cackle. So Click Clack is like the talking version of that, because it's the...
Yeah.
Nice to meet ya. Oh, what's that? I want to see what that is. Can we go look at that? And that's going to be Click Clack.
So, well, you know what? Let's add a look, because this kind of ties into improv skills a little bit.
Yeah.
How did everybody choose their character voice? Everyone's been a player, so we'll just talk on a player aspect. How did everyone decide on what their character's voice was going to be? And I know, Spencer, you're still figuring things out, but this could be the inspiration that you need to give him an actual accent, and it would just be retconned that he has a Jamaican accent for some reason.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna ask you. Is like, how would it work? Retconning it, would it just be like, oh, my character wasn't really comfortable opening up, so he put on a front? Like,
that's
I'd
100%
like to have a voice that's a little different than my own natural voice, but like it's something that I needed to work on a little more instead of just going out and sounding like a total fool.
That's legit 100% what you could do, because remember how Ganta was like, there's 2 accents here, you can keep your secrets, I just want to know if I can trust you. You have just created your own roleplay right there, coming up with that idea. Is like, he's not sure, he's not comfortable, he's maybe kind of shy about his princeness when he's in public.
To be proper.
Yeah, and then when he's chill and relaxed, oh man, this is bonk, this is crazy.
That's so bad.
Did you just say that just so it could be Shaggy, who sounds like Shaggy the reggae?
Yeah,
Again,
but that's an amazing plot. That's an amazing plot device.
This is actually the
and it's not breaking any rules.
No.
We want you to be comfortable. We want you, like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but now I do. I feel comfortable. Hey, DM, how can I make this work? Well, maybe kind of like what John was saying. Maybe you were taught to speak very formal, very proper, and behind closed doors, like, this is how you actually speak.
Another good way to introduce
that's a perfect one.
Is emotion. Another great way to introduce that is emotion. Think about it. Even people who have been trained to speak a certain way can get pushed to the point where all of their learned things go out the window. So, for example, let's say that Click Clack and Norvian get really close. And Ganta, just for whatever reason, is having a bad fucking day because he's a miserable bastard. Love you, Chad. And
Oh, you'll love me soon.
pops the fuck off on Click Clack, and she's tiny, so it's a little more terrifying for her, and she's just sitting there like, what did I do? Norvian could
You touched something and I told you not to touch. That is your problem. Do you not understand how to listen?
and Norvian could easily pop the fuck off
I
on
see.
Ganta, but it's an accent we've never heard before because something just happened to his friend. And he's not thinking about what's proper or what's right. He just wants to defend his friend. So all of that pretense drops.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
It's super easy for me as Chad just because of DM plus ADHD mind plus insert Chadisms. It's super easy for Chad to compartmentalize. I'm not gonna remember this conversation when we go to roleplay. I'm just not. When the camera's off, yep, he did the exact thing that he said he was gonna do. During the campaign, Chad has no idea that this conversation even happened. It's just, and I love that about my brain is I can literally just turn shit off and put it on like a little storage bank, and use it when I need to. I'll forget like if I forget something in the campaign, it stays in that box. If I forget something outside of the campaign, like what we're talking about right now, it'll stay in that box. But those two boxes don't talk.
And outside of this podcast, Spencer, if you want help finding Norvian's voice, that's actually where I have a lot of experience as someone who's
Yeah, that
some
would
voice
be
acting.
nice because like again, getting back to the topic of like skills versus just things naturally. Like I both have no practice with voices and also no natural talent with voices.
okay.
So it's definitely something that I would need.
You want to humor
Some,
me
like,
for
even
a
a
minute?
lot of YouTube tutorials are like, oh, so you do this, and it's like, to me, it's like those memes where it's like, how to draw an owl, draw a circle, draw
Yeah.
the rest of the owl. I'm like, what the fuck?
Make
like,
a donut in a 3D editor. Okay, cool. How do I do that?
Well, if you want to humor me for a minute, pull the Shaggy voice out real quick.
So I'm not even that good at it, though, is the thing.
That's okay. Just
So
do it.
I can, like Zoink Scoob, but I
That
can't
is
really hold
good
it.
though. But
Yeah.
so
But I can only do it for like a really brief interlude. Like I
That's okay.
lose it really quickly.
Remember how I was telling you that I have to listen to the Jon Snow instruction just to sound like Ganta, but then at the second half of the session after the break, it's just me in a shitty British voice. That's literally I'm the exact same way. I feel your pain, man.
I'm gonna
Well, so
tell
it's
you
a good
something that's gonna blow your
aspect.
frickin' mind. When you do that Shaggy voice, what does your voice do? Where do you feel it? Shaggy.
like kind of
Mm-hmm.
there.
You literally
Yeah.
grabbed it
Yep,
when
you
you
need
did
to
the
hold
voice.
it here.
You literally went like,
Yeah, it's right here.
my voice box.
The other thing that Shaggy does is his voice breaks very easily.
Yeah,
So
I don't know how to do that well though.
don't try.
So you want a trick?
You get.
uh
Has this just turned
what's,
into
I
voice
forget.
lessons with Chad and Harley?
no, it's not a trick that I recommend. I always forget his name. The actual actor that played Shaggy in the live action movie.
Matthew
Matthew
Lillard.
Lillard, yeah.
Yeah,
Lillard.
Matt Lillard. He would scream for hours
Yeah, I
to
heard
get
that.
his voice that. So yeah, totally do it. It's great.
The best.
Yeah, scream for hours.
Just
Get your voice really hoarse.
The best
Make sure you
thing
do it out in the street.
is Matthew Lillard is now a hardcore TTRPG nerd and is doing stuff with a ton
Oh, yeah.
of different TTRPG creators. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard, if you're listening to this, we love you.
Matthew
Yes,
Lillard.
I bought one of. Oh, let me find it. You know, he
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
He's asking for it. Oh God.
Matthew Lillard, if you're
I-
listening, I'll have you play a campaign alongside our other Shaggy.
Yeah.
Shaggy and
Like,
Shaggy.
he has like a whole
Or-
line of whiskey. It's almost gone, but it's like
Oh
right.
man.
I want to try
West
that.
End. There's like nothing left
Yeah.
in it, but
That is a
I don't know if
very
you
cool
could see the
bottle, though.
background.
You've used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the background better, kind of with something behind it.
Oh,
West End.
that is so cool.
Paladin.
Yeah, this
Quest
one's
and
down there.
Paladin.
They're all different
Damn.
classes. It's pretty cool.
If anyone,
Yeah, so,
again,
we're gonna have to try it.
we keep going back to Legends of Evantris. He played a one-shot with them, and I've only seen
I
clips.
saw that.
I have not
Yeah.
sat
Yep,
down and watched it, but he is fantastic.
I've seen it. It's so good.
But the other thing is, don't try to do Shaggy's voice. Break down what Shaggy's voice is, and then do that. I don't actually sound like Arlene Sorkin or Tara Strong. I make my voice do what they make their voices do, and it matches up so well.
Okay,
Harley
I
is
got
a
you.
Harley is a very high-pitched, squeaky voice with a Brooklyn accent. So, I mean, if I'm talking not as Harley, but in just the squeaky voice, you're going to get more of this. But when you throw the Brooklyn accent on there, you're gonna get a lot of the. It sounds really like Harlequin, but if you put it to a side-by-side comparison, you'd be able to spot the differences.
I got you.
Yeah, the only downside with me is it's like I said, it's really hard for me to maintain that accent all the way through, unless it's a very, very specific voice.
Mhm.
Like my Kermit the Frog voice, I can do that kind of voice for literal hours because all I do is just bring this out.
Swallow your
And I
tongue.
started out by singing, "Back off, I'll take you." Headshot,
get out of that.
anyone, and it'll stay this way for the entire time. And I don't know why, but it just happens and it stays. And I don't even have to think about it.
And how long
But
can
then
you do
after-
Samwell Darkwell?
Oh, so no.
See, you can't do that for. Yeah, no, yeah. See, he's already struggling.
Well, the other thing is, like, if you want to do more, when I do Cat,
Samuel in the darkness, there was
Okay.
darkness inside of darkness, and then the darkness greeted my darkness, and my darkness was blinded by the darkness.
I can't do it for so long. It
it
starts
hurts.
to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
the one
But
I
it's funny.
love listening to is when Chad does Torbeck because it is so spot on. It's like when I was watching Legends of Evantris and Mikey did the Torbeck voice, and I'm like, wait, is Andy sitting off screen?
Yeah, that's so good.
But if we're gonna go to like,
But that's how things start.
Yeah.
You find a voice, you like it, and then you
Yeah.
just kind of not force. You never want to
Force
force
it,
anything.
you know.
If
No.
any personal experience being a scream vocalist for my old band, like you don't force anything because then you won't be doing shit for a week.
you'll wreck your voice easily.
It
You'll
doesn't matter.
damage. Yeah, you
It
can
doesn't matter
damage
if
it.
it's loud or soft. If you're doing something that your vocal cords aren't supposed to do until you train them, you're just gonna get screwed.
A question, like, because I know my voice sounds different to me than it sounds to everybody else. Do you record your voice and then practice different
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I know what
100%.
I hear sounds nothing like what you hear when
Yeah,
I.
when you hear
Yep.
yourself in a really good mic, and this isn't like
Hey.
top of the line, but it's a pretty good mic. When I hear myself, when I was doing like my YouTube and everything, and I could hear myself coming through here,
You hate
it
it.
is
You
you hate
Oh,
Yeah,
it
it.
You'll hate your
grinds.
actual voice. Yep.
Oh, I
I
mean,
don't
like
like listening to myself.
when I've auditioned for things, and I don't know why I do it, but like going back to where my character's voice comes from for Hero, like if I were like my normal speaking voice is pretty deep, like I talk at a pretty deep, like low register, and like so for Hero, I just like kind of brought it up a little bit, gave it that little bit of like teenage, like oh my voice cracks a little bit. That's all I did because like I didn't have any reason to create some complex voice for him. He's an 18-year-old, grew up with his granddad, has no outside influence to have a different voice than like a post-pubescent teenager. Like my voice might crack sometimes. But like I do it for auditions too, naturally, like because I'm a server. Like I run restaurants, that's literally my profession. But like if I go up to talk to tables and I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? What can I get started for you? Trust me, old women hate me. They'd be like, ah! Like they get scared of the deep voice. So like, hey guys, how's it going? I'm John. How can I help you today? Like I
Customer
bring my
service
voice
voice.
up naturally, and I started doing it for like auditions and stuff. I don't know why.
And then we had that audition with Josh Disney, and his response was, "You mean
was-
you have
and
that deep ass voice and you didn't even pull it out?"
Yeah, no, I can't. But also like it's one of those things of when I come-
noon.
it's high noon. Yeah,
See, I have
like-
to force mine down.
I don't.
Yeah, that's
Matthew
my normal,
Mercer is
That's
amazing.
just how he sounds.
my normal. This
Yeah.
is my normal talking voice. So in order for me to get down to John's pitch, like I have to do that whole David Baker, the Marcata, and even then, it's still not natural. It
Yeah,
feels,
it's still not natural.
yeah, it feels constricted.
The one thing that they're talking
I will-
about, also take into consideration when you're picking your voice, who your character is. For example,
Mhm.
Catwoman. She likes to be in charge. She's a manipulator. She knows what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, because she's probably the reason it's going to happen. So when she talks, she doesn't necessarily take things as seriously. There's always a little hint of, I know something that you don't know, in her voice.
That's how Ganta was made. Ganta started out. He's a trained chef, and he's not noble or he's not royalty. But without spoilers, there's a reason why he presents himself. So the accent comes from his land. His articulation comes from his training.
Mhm.
So I had to take both of those things and think of something that would make the most sense. I have a hard time keeping that accent going for long periods of time. So the best way for me to do that was just to lower my voice to a manageable degree where I'm not tired and I can still keep the accent up. It's still not there. It's not perfect because I'm not a voice actor, even though I want to be. But that was Ganta's character creation. That was actually the longest part of his character creation, was the freaking voice. And why?
In the hints, when like Harley having gone through vocal training for music, you're gonna hate hearing this.
God, what are you about to say?
Oh man.
No. I need you guys to understand so you feel my pain. I am a classically trained vocalist. I have been sent to seminars where they only picked like the top few people that auditioned. I will say that auditioned from 2 different countries, and I went. So, John, what the fuck are you about to say to me?
Never made it as a white man.
Nothing too crazy. Not one of those like stupid phrases that we had to remember.
Okay.
But the 3 major things when thinking of voices. The reason I can I treat voices like I treat music. That's how I'm able to maintain them, pick them back up really quickly, is I use my singing and my background in music as the way to find that pitch, that volume. But volume of a voice changes. Like if we were just to go off the examples you just heard from Harley Quinn and Catwoman have 2 very different volume levels just naturally. Like
That's true as well.
And if you were to do Harley Quinn in the quiet voice that you do Catwoman,
I don't think I'm physically capable.
So volume changes what a voice sounds like. I'm just gonna say registers, looking at it as you would a music, like going from a bass to a baritone to like more of a tenor to even going higher into falsettos. Like you can do voices, like I can do female voices if I really wanted to hop up into my falsetto, like it's perfectly fine. And like that doesn't affect me too much because I just think of it as a falsetto for female voice. I think of it as if I wanted to go something really deep, I could just go into a bass and talk like that. And like that's how I build voices. So it's it's register, then volume. Accents come from just what you're comfortable with. There's accents I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in New York. I grew up with a father who had an accent. I cannot do a Southern accent to save my life.
Dude, I'm the legit opposite. I was born in the South, raised around country, and I forced myself to not have that accent. Literally, every single one of my blood relatives, every single one of my close friends, from my childhood to now, they cannot go around town without talking like this. They cannot talk about biscuits and gravy without adding extra vowels, and they can't say Chad without adding a fucking Y at the end of it. I specifically went out of my way to make sure that I don't do that.
You want to hate me for a minute,
The only
Chad?
way.
What's that?
You want to hate me for a minute? One of the other autistic things that I got is called parroting. Subconsciously, you will mimic how voices sound because it will help you fit in better.
Yep.
That means
I do that.
living in Florida for 8 years, sometimes I sound like Miss Nessa. And I get very southern because I was around it so much. I worked overnights at a Waffle House. I don't sound like that on purpose, and I don't remember, or I'm sorry, I don't realize when I'm doing it. But you will probably hear the southern.
So, like, here's the thing. I can do southern drawl. Doing a southern drawl is not that hard because you slow down your talking pattern. It's pretty easy to keep it going in my head. But just doing like a strictly southern accent, I can't do it. But like I can pop into a New York accent and like it's nothing. Like that's how I grew up. You know, I made jokes all the time when I worked in a bar down in like sometimes I have to remind myself I have to have something, and like you said, key phrases that remind you of it. So like if I ever need to like hop into the New York accent or a transatlantic accent or anything in that general area, I can just go like, oh, the Pak the Khan Hobbit Yad and give the god a quarter. Okay, now I can be in that accent and I can go off. And like if I need to make it transatlantic, just hop up into that higher pitch, and I'm just like, and you know, Jackie Robinson's rounding the base and he's gonna slide home into Stanky Leg, and we got that. Like, and you could just pop into it with these little, like, that's why I say these natural reminders of voices is what holds on to them in your head.
Well, I guess it kind of talks about it a little bit how we were going to go down the lines of character creation as another topic, but considering that we just went down that path, we might not need to be going against it full regalia.
I mean, we can,
but we did a pretty good job at it.
We can definitely revisit it, and cover some things that aren't just voices, because we've strictly been talking voice work here.
Well, to be fair, darling, it is part of our character creation that we can talk about it in full length in another episode.
Harlequin.
Yeah.
You got Azul's Australian accent on point. Hugh Jackman?
Yep.
You already figured it out before I even said anything.
And sometimes you'll slip, so I lovingly refer to you as the not quite Australian, not quite Irish bunny rabbit.
Yeah. It slips because I'm trying to do too much now, because I'm doing Australian, and then I'm like, Australian that's drunk and on drugs. What does that even sound like?
I thought it was Irish. I thought it was Irish or Scottish this entire time.
We were talking about like, what does Azul sound like? And it was like, at first, when I first asked you, you were like, I don't fucking know.
He's the Hugh Jackman Easter Bunny. That's all he is. Rise of the Guardians. Hugh Jackman voices the Easter Bunny, and he's just this very violent, very passionate about eggs Easter Bunny. And that's what I'm imagining when I hear Azul.
I thought he was Liam Neeson the entire time. I was just imagining like Liam Neeson on drugs, that like very North Irish, almost Scottish accent that comes.
Is
like
Liam Neeson Irish?
I mean, for Irish, the phrase that always got me into Irish was actually describing the accent. It was actually describing the accent itself. It's everything goes up at the end like it's a question.
That's Southern Irish. Northern Irish has
it is more Southern, but it's more of the one that's generally known.
No, Northern Irish, like Liam Neeson's, it has almost the Scottish effect to it, where it like it goes in waves. So like the classic, like, no, I don't know who you are, but I will find you and I will kill you.
Yeah.
His actual accent on that, I can't do it. Trust me. Again, British accents fall into that same as like Southern accents. It's so close to my New York accent, I can't break it.
I actually have
I'll just drop it.
A voice actor friend who is actually from Ireland. He is Irish. I should invite Andy on and we can do a whole episode on voices.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. Like I can do so many things from Northeast. I can do like the Midwestern Yooper accent. Oh, I had my best friend's wife.
Basically just Phil.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
like my best friend's wife is from Minnesota.
That's what I was saying, Minnesota. Like, don't you know?
Minnesota, don't you know? Like we're gonna hang out. We're gonna go down and get some ice fishing down the street. Like you want to come and get a whopper?
Oh, I can't.
That's also very Canadian. That reminds me of
it's throbbing.
Letterkenny.
But
yeah, it's Letterkenny, Minnesota. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
100%.
all of this is more of like an instruction for Spencer and anybody who's listening, because I know we kind of went off the wagon. We were talking about improv, and it didn't occur to me that picking a voice and running with your voice.
Yeah, so I didn't even have a voice.
Yeah, it's a key point in your improv.
And you know,
'Cause
like
it also helps when it comes to the player and the character. Because I could talk like this all day
Separating.
long. So if I'm making like a quick, I don't have to say Chad is saying such and such. You could just tell because I'm using Chad's voice. But then when I go down into Ganta, you obviously just know. So like being able to have that dual mentality, that dual mindset, one helps the table, two helps the DM for key points that they might need to remember, and then just confidence. Honestly, in my opinion, I think when and if Spencer busts out his Jamaican accent, where I'll just
If you try to do one more time, it was so bad.
not me. I
I could-
cannot do Jamaican.
Say, as some, like I could
Come on,
pull a
Chad.
decent one off. That was pretty bad.
Well, I was trying to think of something to say, and then I was just like,
What
oh,
did you
man.
do? Oh man.
Come on.
Oh,
Come on, I'm Jamaican.
I mean, no disrespect to any Jamaicans out there. I'm just dog shit.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
no.
this is like all fun and games.
Oh yeah, this is for fun.
Yeah. But no,
No, honestly, to do Jamaican, I have to think Bob Marley songs, and then I get
Yeah.
into it. Like that's how I get myself there.
yeah, and I'm hoping that anybody who's listening, like, one, yeah, we're dumb, we're stupid, we like to have fun, we go off the handrails a lot, and we go on tangents. We want the happiness, and if doing a shitty Jamaican accent makes you happy, I say do it.
Oh yeah. The biggest thing I think that comes out of all of this, and just how we feel about this like D&D in general, like, and the best part about D&D to me is there's no guardrails. Like there's no kiddie bumpers. Like just do what's fun, and it's going to be fun.
Yep.
And like the same way we treat
everybody on the same table or the same page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know, like we can talk about that another time of like players going off the wagon so far that it annoys the table. That's another discussion. But like overall, if you're getting into D&D, you know, if you don't have fun making up a voice, don't make up a voice. It's fine. If you have fun, your character goes on ADHD tangents because they're high on drugs, Ventura.
or like
And they
later,
go on
they've just kind of lost their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that, like, it's fine. Like, the whole like at the end of the day, like, and a lot of people hate the statement, but I think it's true. At the end of the day, it's a game. You're meant to be able to come home from work and play this game and have a grand old time with your buddies, and however that manifests itself is how it's supposed to be. There's no wrong way for it to go.
Yeah.
If everybody's having a good time, there's no wrong way for it to go.
And I'd like to interject with Azul's accent. He's a traveler, so he also he parrots people.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll go back to common. He's done British. Yeah, he's also
I
done
picked that up. I was like, why are you
Yeah.
so British?
I
because
was like,
he's just,
are we just saying that Azul's autistic?
Maybe
I'd say
it makes sense. It is loose.
I mean,
he's got a Aragon brain.
Dude,
I
my
mean, I'm just saying,
my artistic is showing.
as the autistic representative, all you fucking all have the ability to be on the goddamn spectrum. Don't even fucking lie to me.
I'm afraid to take a test.
I am your test. You failed.
technically I am.
You are autistic. No longer self-diagnosed.
Luna, my alpaca. Oh no.
Oh no! Not the altruism again.
Not my articulation.
God.
Oh,
The
I'll keep you-
anticipation. Alright, you gotta stop.
Yep. Oh, okay. That's
All right.
it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
It's okay,
I
baby
think we
boy.
are,
We
Chad.
still love
Yeah,
you.
we are. well, that's an inside joke. We'll key you guys in on a little bit, but
we love you like a mother loves her child that's ugly.
yep. Like me. And on that note, do we have any final words for today's first ever table?
Like, subscribe. You can find us on almost all social media. We are at Harlequin's Hallowed Hearth on almost everything, unless there are limits in the amount of characters that I can use.
You know what? You gotta make a P-Hub account now and post us there in order for it to be all media platforms.
I will, but it's just going to be like our regular sessions.
Yeah. Uncensored.
I
Uncut.
can't wait to edit those videos.
I mean, the Swan stuff will be front and center.
Okay, Chad, you're
One of us.
your solo session will
Your
be.
solo session.
I want you to
Solo
know,
session.
Chad. Again, you can go on YouTube and watch this. Phil tried to pop in and say hi to Ganta post Featherine, because when he snuck into the staff area, I realized this is right as you went off to have fun with Featherine. So he's trying to sneak over to the carriage of Witch and Light, and there's honking and flying feathers coming from this nest in a corner.
Okay.
Pineapple. Pineapple.
My safe
Pineapple
word's
indeed.
more
And
Safe words.
honk. Any other last minute comments?
None for me.
should we start a Patreon? If you would like us to start a Patreon, let me know in the comments so that I can start a Patreon.
Or just DM her and she'll just tell you to fuck off, and then she'll still make a Patreon.
And then I'll still make a Patreon. And with that,
All right.
and
And with that, it's my job now. Back
Throw
on
to
Harley.
Chad. Jeez.
And
It's
in
Ganta's
full,
table.
in full Harley fashion. And with that, I hope everyone had an enjoying time, a wonderful session. Your bellies are full. Your thirst is quenched. See you at the next table.